Imagine a world forged in fire and chaos, where the first life emerged from primordial oceans and reshaped Earth forever. From the rise of photosynthetic bacteria transforming the atmosphere, to the towering forests that fueled the Age of Giants, evolution set the stage for dinosaurs to reign supreme. Thrilling battles between cunning predators and massive herbivores, incredible adaptations like feathers, and even the first sparks of social behavior, all leading to the question, what truly caused their extinction? And could their return reshape our future? Welcome to Dinoverse, and please subscribe to support. How did single-celled organisms emerge from primordial oceans? Billions of years ago, Earth was a vastly different place. Its surface was a chaotic landscape of molten rock, cooling crust and violent volcanic eruptions. The atmosphere was thick with gases like methane, ammonia, and carbon dioxide, devoid of the oxygen we now depend on. Amid this seemingly inhospitable environment, the first single-celled organisms began to form, marking the start of life as we know it. The key to understanding this extraordinary emergence lies in the oceans. These primordial waters were rich with organic molecules, often referred to as the primordial soup. Elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, along with trace minerals, were continually supplied by volcanic eruptions and hydrothermal vents. These molecules interacted under the influence of Earth's energy sources, including ultraviolet light from the sun, lightning strikes, and geothermal heat. Through these interactions, simple compounds such as amino acids and nucleotides, the building blocks of proteins and RNA, began to form. One of the most important steps in the transition to life was the formation of protocells, primitive cell-like structures. Fatty acids, naturally present in the early environment, could spontaneously assemble into vesicles, forming a simple membrane. These membranes served as a protective boundary, creating an isolated space where chemical reactions could occur more efficiently. Protocells offered the first glimpse of compartmentalization, a hallmark of modern life. Simultaneously, molecules capable of self-replication began to appear. RNA, a molecule that can both store genetic information and catalyze chemical reactions, likely played a central role in this early phase of life. This idea, often referred to as the RNA world hypothesis, suggests that RNA-based systems predated DNA and proteins. Once self-replicating RNA molecules were housed within protocells, these early systems gained the ability to replicate and evolve, slowly becoming more complex. Hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean likely provided the perfect environment for these processes to unfold. These vents, rich in minerals and constantly emitting heat, created a unique setting where simple molecules could concentrate and react. The alkaline vent hypothesis proposes that the chemical gradients around these vents mimicked the energy systems used by modern cells, providing the conditions necessary for life to arise. As these protocells became more sophisticated, they began to utilize energy from their surroundings to drive their internal reactions. Early energy systems may have been based on simple processes like chemosynthesis, where energy is extracted from inorganic compounds. Over time, the evolution of metabolic pathways allowed these cells to exploit a wider range of energy sources, setting the stage for diversification. Once single-celled life emerged, it began to spread and adapt to different environments, laying the groundwork for the complex ecosystems that would eventually dominate Earth. These first organisms were likely anaerobic, thriving in the absence of oxygen. However, as some organisms evolved the ability to harness sunlight through photosynthesis, they began to release oxygen as a byproduct. This shift set the stage for the eventual transformation of Earth's atmosphere, paving the way for more complex life forms to develop. The emergence of single-celled organisms was not an isolated event, but a series of incremental steps shaped by the physical and chemical conditions of early Earth. Each stage built upon the last, creating a chain of innovation that would ultimately lead to the incredible diversity of life we see today. This journey from simple molecules to living cells is one of the most remarkable chapters in Earth's history, a story of persistence and adaptation in the face of a hostile environment. How did photosynthetic bacteria transform Earth's atmosphere? Photosynthetic bacteria, particularly cyanobacteria, were among the most transformative forces in Earth's history. Before their emergence, the planet's atmosphere was largely dominated by gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen, creating a world inhospitable to most modern life. Cyanobacteria fundamentally altered this balance through their ability to harness sunlight and perform photosynthesis, a process that produces oxygen as a byproduct. This oxygenation of Earth's atmosphere set the stage for the eventual rise of complex life. Cyanobacteria evolved in the oceans, where they took advantage of abundant sunlight and dissolved carbon dioxide. Through photosynthesis, they used sunlight to convert carbon dioxide and water into glucose, releasing oxygen as a waste product. At first, the oxygen they produced was absorbed by various chemical sinks, such as dissolved iron in the oceans. This interaction resulted in the formation of iron oxides, visible today as banded iron formations in ancient rocks. These deposits are some of the earliest evidence of oxygen production on Earth. Over time, these chemical sinks became saturated, and free oxygen began to accumulate in the oceans and eventually in the atmosphere. This shift, known as the Great Oxidation Event, occurred around 2.5 billion years ago and marked a major turning point in Earth's history. The rise of oxygen transformed the atmosphere and triggered a cascade of changes in Earth's chemistry and biology. Oxygen is a highly reactive molecule, and its accumulation initially posed challenges for many anaerobic organisms that had thrived in oxygen-free conditions. For these life forms, oxygen was toxic, and its presence created a selective pressure that led to widespread extinctions. However, other organisms began to evolve mechanisms to either tolerate or exploit oxygen. This adaptation eventually led to the development of aerobic respiration, a far more efficient way to extract energy from organic molecules compared to anaerobic processes. The presence of oxygen also allowed for the formation of the ozone layer, a protective shield in the upper atmosphere that absorbs harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Before the ozone layer, life was largely restricted to the oceans, where water provided a natural barrier against UV radiation. The development of this protective layer allowed organisms to colonize land, paving the way for the terrestrial ecosystems we see today. Cyanobacteria also played a direct role in shaping the carbon cycle. By fixing carbon dioxide into organic matter, they contributed to the sequestration of carbon in sediments, influencing global climate regulation. Their activity helped reduce atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, which may have contributed to periods of global cooling and even snowball Earth events, times when the planet was almost entirely covered in ice. This transformation was not a rapid process, but rather unfolded over hundreds of millions of years. The gradual buildup of oxygen in the atmosphere allowed life to adapt and evolve alongside these changing conditions. The oxygenation of the planet enabled the emergence of eukaryotic cells, which rely on aerobic respiration and would eventually give rise to all multicellular life, including plants, animals, and fungi. The legacy of cyanobacteria is profound, as their impact resonates through every aspect of life and Earth's environment. By transforming the atmosphere, they created the conditions necessary for complexity, diversity, and innovation in the biological world. Cyanobacteria continue to exist today, reminding us of their pivotal role in shaping the very air we breathe and the ecosystems we inhabit. The Cambrian explosion and the sudden diversification of life forms in ancient seas. The Cambrian explosion, occurring approximately 541 million years ago, represents one of the most remarkable periods in Earth's history. It was a time when life rapidly diversified in the oceans, producing a stunning array of complex organisms. This sudden burst of evolutionary activity saw the emergence of nearly all the major animal phyla that persist to this day. fundamentally shaping the trajectory of life on Earth. Before the Cambrian, the world was dominated by simpler life forms. The preceding Ediacaran period hosted soft-bodied organisms with relatively simple body plans. These creatures lacked the hard parts, like shells or exoskeletons, that characterize many animals today. The fossil record of the Ediacaran period provides glimpses into a time of experimentation in biological forms, but it was the Cambrian explosion that unleashed a wealth of evolutionary innovation. A critical factor driving this diversification was the oxygenation of Earth's oceans. Building on the oxygenation events triggered by cyanobacteria billions of years earlier, the Cambrian seas became rich in oxygen, creating an environment capable of supporting more energy-intensive lifestyles. This allowed organisms to grow larger, develop complex body structures, and engage in more dynamic ecological interactions. Another catalyst was the evolution of genetic and developmental systems, particularly the advent of Hox genes. These regulatory genes control the development of body plans during embryonic growth, enabling the creation of segmented and specialized body structures. With this genetic toolkit, organisms could develop new features like limbs, eyes, and segmented bodies, opening up a vast range of ecological possibilities. The Cambrian seas became a hotbed of ecological complexity. Predation emerged as a dominant force, driving an evolutionary arms race between predators and prey. Trilobites, iconic arthropods of the Cambrian, developed hard exoskeletons for protection. Meanwhile, early predators like Anomalocaris, with its sharp, grasping appendages and powerful mouthparts, revolutionized how organisms interacted. These interactions spurred the evolution of defensive adaptations like shells, spikes, and burrowing behaviors. In addition to predation, the Cambrian explosion saw the rise of filter feeders, scavengers, and grazers, leading to a more complex food web. The seabed, previously dominated by microbial mats, became a dynamic environment as animals began burrowing into the sediment, oxygenating it and reshaping the ecosystem. This process, known as bioturbation, profoundly altered the ocean floor and influenced nutrient cycling. Fossils from famous Cambrian sites like the Burgess Shale in Canada and Chengjiang in China reveal the extraordinary diversity of life during this period. These fossils include early ancestors of modern groups such as arthropods, mollusks, and chordates, the latter of which includes vertebrates like fish and eventually humans. Organisms like Opabinia, with its 5 eyes and strange proboscis, and Hallucigenia, a spiky worm-like creature, showcase the experimental nature of Cambrian evolution. Environmental factors also played a role in this evolutionary boom. The breakup of ancient supercontinents created shallow seas, rich in nutrients, which provided ideal conditions for life to flourish. Changes in ocean chemistry, such as increased levels of calcium and phosphate, enabled the development of hard tissues like shells and skeletons, further driving the diversification of body plans. The Cambrian explosion was not just a moment of innovation, but also of significant evolutionary pruning. Many early experiments in body plans failed, leaving no descendants. However, the successful lineages laid the foundation for the biodiversity we see today. This event was a pivotal turning point in Earth's history, marking the transition from a world of simple organisms to one brimming with complexity, competition, and cooperation. The rise of vertebrates, from jawless fish to early ancestors of land animals. The story of vertebrates begins in the ancient oceans of the Cambrian period, when jawless fish made their first appearance. These primitive creatures, such as Hyquicthus and Miliconmingia, were small eel-like organisms that lacked jaws but possessed key features that would define vertebrates for millions of years. They had a notochord, a flexible rod providing support, a simple neural cord, and rudimentary muscle segmentation. These features set them apart from other marine life, giving them the foundation for more complex body plans. Jawless fish were not apex predators but scavengers and filter feeders, relying on their gill structures to extract food particles from the water. Over time, this strategy proved limiting, especially as ecosystems grew more competitive. The evolution of bony plates for protection, seen in species like ostracoderms, was one of the first major innovations. These armor-like exoskeletons offered defense against predators and marked an important shift toward more diverse adaptations. The next breakthrough came with the evolution of jaws, a monumental leap that transformed vertebrate life forever. This adaptation likely originated from modifications to the gill arches, structures originally supporting the gills. Early jawed fish such as placoderms used their newfound ability to bite and grasp prey, fundamentally altering marine food chains. Instead of simply scavenging or filtering, they could now actively hunt, carving out new ecological roles. This predatory advantage allowed jawed vertebrates to outcompete many jawless fish, driving evolutionary pressures that favored agility, sensory improvements, and stronger skeletal structures. With jaws came the diversification of fin structures. Pectoral and pelvic fins evolved, providing greater mobility and stability in the water. Early cartilaginous and bony fish, such as sharks and sarcopterygians, respectively, took full advantage of these developments. Sarcopterygians, or lobe-finned fish, deserve special attention. Their robust, muscular fins contained bones analogous to the limbs of modern tetrapods. These fins were not just for swimming, but also allowed these creatures to walk along the seafloor, giving them a distinct edge in shallow, oxygen-poor environments. The Devonian period, often called the Age of Fishes, saw vertebrates thriving in diverse aquatic habitats. During this time, the transition from water to land began. Lungfish, close relatives of early tetrapods, developed lungs that allowed them to breathe air, an adaptation crucial for survival in stagnant, oxygen-depleted waters. This dual respiratory system, gills for water and lungs for air, would become a stepping stone for life beyond the oceans. The true pioneers of land were the early tetrapodomorphs, such as Tiktaalik. These creatures possessed a blend of aquatic and terrestrial traits, including sturdy, limb-like fins and a neck that allowed independent head movement. Tiktaalik could support its body in shallow waters or on mudflats, a critical adaptation for venturing onto land. While still reliant on aquatic environments, these early tetrapods were poised to exploit untapped terrestrial resources, such as abundant plant life and invertebrates. As vertebrates adapted further to land, their skeletal and muscular systems evolved to support their weight in a gravity-dominated environment. Limbs became more robust, digits developed for traction, and lungs became more efficient. This shift marked the beginning of the terrestrial domination of vertebrates, laying the groundwork for the rise of amphibians, reptiles, and eventually dinosaurs. The rise of vertebrates from jawless fish to early tetrapods is a tale of innovation driven by environmental challenges. Each step, from the evolution of jaws to the development of limbs, represents a pivotal moment in the history of life. These adaptations not only enabled vertebrates to survive, but also to thrive, ultimately shaping the future of life on Earth. The journey from water to land set the stage for the incredible biodiversity that would follow, leading directly to the emergence of dinosaurs millions of years later. The first steps on land, how plants and animals adapted to terrestrial environments. The journey from water to land was a transformative chapter in Earth's history, marked by a series of evolutionary innovations that forever altered life on the planet. This migration began with plants and was later followed by animals, each overcoming unique challenges presented by a land-based existence. Plants were the first to take this monumental leap. The earliest terrestrial plants were ancestors of modern bryophytes, such as liverworts and mosses. These pioneers evolved from green algae that lived in shallow, nutrient-rich waters near shorelines. The shift to land offered distinct advantages, such as access to unfiltered sunlight and freedom from aquatic predators. However, terrestrial life posed new threats, including desiccation, structural instability, and the need for efficient nutrient absorption. To combat desiccation, early land plants developed a waxy cuticle, a protective layer that minimized water loss, while allowing them to withstand the drier conditions of land. Stomata, tiny pores on the plant's surface, evolved to regulate gas exchange. balancing the need for carbon dioxide with the risk of losing water. To anchor themselves in the soil and extract nutrients, these plants developed primitive root-like structures called rhizoids. Over time, vascular systems like xylem and phloem evolved, enabling plants to transport water and nutrients more efficiently. This advancement allowed them to grow taller, creating the first primitive forests that would later dominate the Devonian landscape. As plants spread across terrestrial environments, they fundamentally transformed the planet's surface. Their presence stabilized soil, reduced erosion, and introduced oxygen into the atmosphere through photosynthesis, making the land more hospitable for animal life. The animals that followed faced an entirely different set of challenges. Arthropods, such as millipedes and scorpions, were among the first to venture onto land. Descended from aquatic ancestors, these early terrestrial arthropods had exoskeletons that provided structural support and reduced water loss, a critical adaptation in dry environments. Spiracles and tracheal tubes evolved to facilitate breathing in air, a system still seen in many modern insects. These adaptations allowed arthropods to exploit untapped resources, such as decaying plant matter, which had accumulated as plants colonized the land. The evolution of vertebrates onto land was an even more complex process. Early tetrapods, like Acanthostega and Ichthyostega, emerged from lobe-finned fish that had already developed limb-like fins. These appendages allowed them to navigate the shallow, swampy environments of their aquatic homes, but also proved useful for supporting their bodies when venturing onto mudflats. Lungs, a trait inherited from their lungfish ancestors, enabled them to breathe air, an essential capability for survival in oxygen-poor waters and on land. One of the most significant challenges for early land vertebrates was overcoming gravity. In water, buoyancy provides natural support, but on land, skeletal and muscular systems had to evolve to bear the full weight of the body. Vertebral columns became stronger and more flexible, while limbs and digits adapted for movement on solid ground. Sensory systems also underwent major changes. Eyes, which had evolved for underwater vision, adjusted to see clearly in air, while hearing structures adapted to detect sound waves traveling through air rather than water. Reproduction presented another major hurdle. Amphibians, like their modern descendants, relied on water for laying eggs and early development. The evolution of the amniotic egg in reptiles, with its protective shell and self-contained water supply, was a groundbreaking solution that allowed for reproduction entirely on land. This advancement freed vertebrates from their dependence on aquatic environments, enabling them to colonize dry inland habitats. The migration of plants and animals onto land was not a single event, but a gradual and overlapping series of adaptations. Each innovation, from cuticles to lungs, allowed life to push the boundaries of its environment, turning the barren continents into thriving ecosystems. This progression set the stage for the dominance of land-based life forms, including the eventual rise of dinosaurs. The first steps on land were not just a transition from one habitat to another. They were the foundation of the terrestrial world as we know it. The evolution of lungs and limbs, key adaptations for life outside water. The transition from water to land was marked by profound anatomical changes, with lungs and limbs standing out as two of the most critical adaptations. These features not only allowed early tetrapods to survive outside aquatic environments, but also paved the way for the eventual dominance of terrestrial vertebrates. The evolution of lungs traces its origins to the shallow, oxygen-poor waters inhabited by lobe-finned fish such as Eusthenopteron and Tiktaalik. These ancestors relied on gills for oxygen exchange in water, but in stagnant environments where oxygen levels fluctuated, gills alone were insufficient. Lungs, initially functioning as supplementary organs, provided an efficient alternative for extracting oxygen from the air. These primitive lungs evolved from swim bladders, structures used by some fish for buoyancy. Over time, the internal surface area of lungs increased, enabling better gas exchange and laying the groundwork for land-based respiration. Lungs were not merely an evolutionary convenience, they were a necessity. Early land environments lacked the consistent availability of oxygenated water. With lungs, these animals could spend extended periods outside aquatic habitats, navigating muddy shorelines and searching for food or new habitats. These early lungs retained moisture within their membranes, an essential feature for preventing desiccation in air, where water evaporates much faster than in aquatic environments. The development of limbs was equally transformative. Fins, which had served as rudimentary paddles for movement in water, began to take on a different role in shallow environments. The lobe-finned structure, supported by bones like the humerus, radius, and ulna, allowed these creatures to push off the substrate in shallow waters or muddy flats. Tiktaalik, often described as a transitional species, displayed a mix of fish and tetrapod characteristics. Its robust fins, complete with jointed bones, enabled it to support its body weight partially on land. This capability provided significant advantages such as the ability to access new food sources, evade predators, or move between drying pools. The transition from fins to limbs was not just about mobility, it was about strength and versatility. Early tetrapods like Acanthostega and Ichthyostega displayed fully developed digits, allowing for better interaction with solid ground. Their skeletal structure adapted to bear the weight of their bodies in a gravity-dominated environment. The spine became stronger and more flexible, with interlocking vertebrae providing the stability needed for locomotion on uneven terrain. Muscle attachments evolved to power these limbs, turning rudimentary paddles into tools for walking, climbing, or even burrowing. Equally significant was the evolution of the sensory systems that supported these physical changes. Lungs required new adaptations for regulating breathing in air, including the development of a rib cage to expand and contract the lungs. This innovation not only facilitated breathing but also provided structural support for the body during movement. Limbs demanded enhanced proprioception, the ability to sense limb position and movement, critical for navigating the three-dimensional complexity of terrestrial environments. These changes did not occur in isolation. As limbs and lungs evolved, other systems followed suit. Skin adapted to prevent water loss, while ears became specialized for detecting airborne sounds. Eyes, previously optimized for seeing underwater, adjusted to the refractive properties of air, improving vision in open terrestrial environments. Together, these adaptations formed a cohesive suite of traits that enabled early tetrapods to explore, survive, and eventually thrive on land. The evolution of lungs and limbs was not a single leap, but a gradual process shaped by the pressures of an ever-changing environment. These adaptations exemplify the interplay between anatomy and environment, highlighting how evolutionary innovations can open entirely new worlds of opportunity. By stepping onto land, these pioneers not only expanded the boundaries of their existence, but also laid the foundation for the explosion of terrestrial life that would come to define much of Earth's history. The age of giant arthropods, how high oxygen levels fueled massive insects. During the Carboniferous period, Earth's atmosphere underwent a unique transformation that gave rise to a world populated by giant arthropods. Insects and other invertebrates of this era reached extraordinary sizes, such as the dragonfly-like Meganeura with wingspans rivaling modern seagulls, and the fearsome arthropod Arthropleura, a millipede-like creature stretching several meters. This unprecedented scale was directly tied to the high oxygen levels of the time, shaping a world unlike anything seen today. The Carboniferous atmosphere was marked by an oxygen concentration far higher than what we experience now, with levels reaching up to 35%. This surplus of oxygen was a result of the dense and vast coal-forming forests that dominated the landscape. These forests, filled with ancient tree-like plants such as lycophytes and ferns, photosynthesized at an extraordinary rate, releasing vast quantities of oxygen into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, the slow decomposition of plant material in waterlogged swamps trapped carbon, preventing it from recombining with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. This imbalance created an oxygen-rich environment that transformed life on Earth. Insects and arthropods, which rely on passive diffusion through their tracheal systems to breathe, benefited enormously from this oxygen surplus. Unlike mammals with lungs, insects depend on tiny tubes called tracheae to transport oxygen directly to their cells. The efficiency of this system is limited by oxygen concentration, restricting the size of modern insects. However, in the oxygen-rich Carboniferous atmosphere, this limitation was alleviated, allowing insects to grow to sizes that would be impossible today. The tracheal systems of these creatures could support much larger body masses without suffocating, paving the way for the evolution of these giants. The high oxygen levels also had physiological and ecological consequences. Larger arthropods had advantages in predation and defense, reshaping food chains and interactions in these ancient ecosystems. Predators like Meganeura were likely formidable aerial hunters, dominating the skies as they hunted smaller insects and even small vertebrates. Arthropleura, a colossal land dweller, likely used its immense size to deter predators and feed on abundant plant material in the forest floors. These giants became integral components of their ecosystems, influencing the evolutionary pressures on other species around them. However, the era of giant arthropods was not without challenges. Larger body sizes made these creatures more dependent on stable oxygen levels. Fluctuations in atmospheric oxygen could have dire consequences for these oversized organisms, as their size left them vulnerable to even small changes in the concentration of breathable air. As the Carboniferous period gave way to the Permian, oxygen levels began to decline due to changes in global climate and the collapse of the swampy coal forests. This decline marked the end of the reign of giant arthropods, as their respiratory systems could no longer sustain their massive bodies under the reduced oxygen conditions. The study of these ancient giants reveals the delicate balance between physiology and environment. It highlights how atmospheric changes can shape life on Earth, creating opportunities for evolutionary experimentation while also imposing limits. The massive arthropods of the Carboniferous represent a time when the planet's conditions allowed for life forms that challenge our understanding of what is biologically possible, underscoring the intricate connection between Earth's atmosphere and the creatures that inhabit it. The Devonian period, evolution of complex aquatic ecosystems. The Devonian period, often referred to as the Age of Fishes, was a transformative chapter in Earth's history, marked by the emergence and diversification of complex aquatic ecosystems. Spanning approximately 60 million years, this era saw marine environments evolve into dynamic systems teeming with a wide array of life forms that would define the structure of ecosystems for eons to come. During this period, jawless fish, which had dominated earlier seas, were overshadowed by the rise of jawed vertebrates. Placoderms, armored fish with massive bony plates, became apex predators in these waters. Their evolution signified a shift in predatory behavior, as their jaws allowed them to grasp and crush prey with unparalleled efficiency. Alongside them, cartilaginous fish resembling modern sharks began to emerge, introducing further diversity to these ecosystems. The Devonian seas also saw the proliferation of lobe-finned and ray-finned fish. Lobe-finned fish, with their muscular, limb-like fins, played a particularly pivotal role in the evolution of vertebrates. These fins provided greater maneuverability and allowed these fish to explore shallow waters and riverbeds. These adaptations set the stage for their descendants to eventually transition onto land, heralding the evolution of tetrapods. Ray-finned fish, on the other hand, dominated open waters, using their flexible fins to navigate and exploit new ecological niches. Coral reefs, too, reached an evolutionary zenith during the Devonian. Ancient coral species, along with sponges and stromatoporoids, constructed vast reef systems that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. These reefs served as critical habitats, sheltering a diverse range of organisms, from trilobites to ammonites. The reefs also functioned as hotspots of biodiversity, fostering intricate food webs and interactions between species. The invertebrate community flourished with creatures like brachiopods, mollusks, and eurypterids playing vital roles in these ecosystems. Eurypterids, often called sea scorpions, became formidable predators in shallow waters. Meanwhile, ammonites with their coiled shells were not only vital components of the food chain but also crucial indicators of environmental conditions, as their shells captured chemical clues about the waters they inhabited. The Devonian was also a time of significant ecological innovation in plant life, which indirectly influenced aquatic ecosystems. The evolution of vascular plants on land contributed to the stability of riverbanks, reducing sediment runoff into the seas. This stabilization of habitats allowed freshwater ecosystems to flourish, and the interplay between terrestrial and aquatic environments became increasingly intricate. Freshwater systems became vital nurseries for many marine species, providing a safe haven for juvenile fish and invertebrates. However, the Devonian period was not without its challenges. Fluctuations in climate and sea levels, along with periodic anoxic events, disrupted marine life. These events created vast dead zones in the oceans, where oxygen levels plummeted, leading to the decline of many species. Such environmental stresses culminated in the late Devonian extinction, one of the 5 major mass extinction events in Earth's history. While this extinction wiped out significant portions of marine biodiversity, it also paved the way for new evolutionary pathways and the eventual dominance of other vertebrates. The Devonian's aquatic ecosystems were complex, interconnected, and highly dynamic. They set the foundation for modern marine biodiversity and demonstrated the intricate relationships between species and their environments. By studying this period, we gain valuable insights into the resilience and adaptability of life, as well as the delicate balance that sustains ecosystems through the ages. The first forests, how ancient trees reshaped Earth's climate and ecosystems. The emergence of the first forests was a transformative event in Earth's history. These towering giants, such as Archaeopteryx and other early tree-like plants, reshaped the planet's landscapes, ecosystems, and climate. Their roots ran deep, both figuratively and literally, establishing a new dynamic between land, atmosphere, and life. Before the rise of forests, Earth's landscapes were dominated by low-growing plants like mosses, liverworts, and early vascular flora. These plants could stabilize the soil and extract nutrients, but their contribution to global systems was limited. Then came plants with woody tissues, enabling vertical growth and allowing them to compete for sunlight. Archaeopteryx, often regarded as the first true tree, was a pioneer. With its broad fern-like fronds and deep root systems, it dominated the late Devonian period, spreading across vast swaths of the planet. One of the most profound impacts of these early forests was their effect on the global carbon cycle. As trees absorbed carbon dioxide during photosynthesis, they played a crucial role in reducing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. This led to a cooling effect on the planet, altering climate systems and contributing to the stabilization of temperatures. The carbon they sequestered was often stored in their massive woody structures or buried when they fell, forming early coal deposits over millions of years. This storage of carbon had far-reaching consequences, eventually creating a buffer against runaway greenhouse conditions. The root systems of these ancient trees transformed the soil like never before. Deep roots broke down rocks, releasing minerals and creating fertile ground for future plant growth. This process, known as chemical weathering, also impacted rivers and oceans. Minerals like calcium and magnesium washed into waterways, where they bonded with atmospheric carbon dioxide and formed carbonates, sequestering more carbon and influencing marine chemistry. Ecologically, forests provided entirely new habitats. Their canopies sheltered smaller plants from harsh sunlight, while the decaying leaves and organic matter on the forest floor enriched the soil, creating microhabitats for fungi, insects, and other organisms. The first forests also gave rise to early food webs on land, offering new resources for herbivorous invertebrates and eventually vertebrates. Insects like early millipedes and springtails thrived in these environments, feeding on detritus and interacting with the plant life. Forests didn't just change life on land, they also influenced aquatic ecosystems. Increased vegetation stabilized riverbanks, reducing sediment runoff and allowing for clearer waterways. This stability created more hospitable environments for freshwater species, fostering biodiversity in rivers and lakes. The interplay between land and water became increasingly intricate, marking a new era of ecological complexity. Despite their monumental impact, the dominance of early forests wasn't without challenges. The proliferation of massive plant life contributed to a drawdown in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels, which may have triggered the late Devonian cooling event and subsequent mass extinction. This extinction event profoundly affected marine ecosystems, as plants had altered the balance of nutrients washing into the oceans. The first forests were more than just landscapes, they were engines of planetary change. By drawing down carbon dioxide, stabilizing soils, and fostering biodiversity, they set the stage for the environments that would later support dinosaurs, mammals, and eventually humans. The legacy of these ancient giants is written in the carbon-rich coal seams, the composition of our atmosphere, and the very structure of Earth's ecosystems. The Carboniferous period, swampy forests, and the birth of modern ecosystems. The Carboniferous period was a time of unparalleled transformation, marked by swampy forests that stretched across much of the land. These ancient wetlands, rich in life and teeming with diversity, laid the groundwork for ecosystems that would define Earth for millions of years. This was the age when the dense tropical landscapes created the coal beds that fuel modern industry, and when the foundations of modern ecosystems truly began to take shape. Lush lowland swamps dominated the Carboniferous landscape, with towering lycophytes, ferns, and seed ferns forming dense canopies that shaded the murky, waterlogged ground below. Giant trees like lepidodendron and sigillaria, covered in scaly bark and standing as tall as modern skyscrapers, were the giants of this world, their shallow roots intertwined with smaller plants, creating intricate layers of vegetation. This dense plant life not only provided oxygen but also served as the backbone of the ecosystem, supporting a cascade of life forms. The oxygen levels during this period reached unprecedented heights, likely exceeding those of today. This abundance of oxygen created a unique environment that allowed arthropods to grow to enormous sizes. Dragonflies like Meganeura, with wingspans rivaling modern seagulls, and millipedes such as Arthropleura, stretching meters in length, ruled the forests and swamps. These creatures were both predators and prey, playing vital roles in the early land-based food webs. The swamps were a constant hum of activity, with insects feeding on decomposing plant matter, fungi breaking down organic material, and predators stalking their prey among the dense vegetation. Below the canopy, the ground was a tangle of roots, fallen logs, and stagnant water. This environment created a perfect setting for early amphibians to thrive. Creatures like Ichthyostega and Eriops ventured between water and land, their lives tied to the moist conditions of the Carboniferous swamps. These amphibians were some of the first vertebrates to explore life beyond the water's edge, paving the way for future evolution. The swamps of the Carboniferous were more than just vibrant ecosystems. They were geological engines. As plants grew and died, their remains accumulated in the waterlogged soils, where they were buried before fully decomposing. Over millions of years, these layers of organic material were compressed into coal, forming the vast deposits that humans mine today. These coal beds are a direct link to the ancient swamps, preserving a snapshot of this unique time in Earth's history. The high levels of plant life also dramatically altered the planet's atmosphere. As plants absorbed carbon dioxide and released oxygen, they contributed to a significant drawdown of atmospheric CO2. This process not only cooled the planet, but also had far-reaching consequences for climate and weather patterns. The buildup of plant matter in the swamps acted as a carbon sink, locking away vast amounts of carbon for millennia. Despite its flourishing ecosystems, the Carboniferous period was not without challenges. The reliance of many organisms on swampy lowland habitats made them vulnerable to environmental changes. Toward the end of the period, shifts in climate led to the drying of many wetlands, causing extinctions and forcing surviving species to adapt to new conditions. The Carboniferous was a turning point in Earth's history, a time when life began to reach for the skies and ecosystems became more intricate and interconnected. The legacy of its swampy forests is still with us today, not only in the coal that powers modern civilization, but also in the evolutionary pathways that led to the diversity of life we see on Earth now. This was the age when life truly began to sculpt the planet in ways that would echo through time. Amphibian dominance. Why early amphibians thrived before reptiles. Early amphibians rose to prominence during the Devonian and Carboniferous periods, thriving in ecosystems shaped by abundant water and dense vegetation. Their dominance was rooted in their adaptability to aquatic and terrestrial environments, filling niches that had previously been unoccupied. Amphibians were the first vertebrates to truly bridge the gap between water and land, paving the way for the evolutionary innovations that would later lead to reptiles and beyond. Amphibians' success can largely be attributed to their life cycle, which tied them to water for reproduction, while granting them access to terrestrial resources. Their eggs, lacking protective shells, needed moist environments to survive. This dependency on water ensured their presence in swampy forests, rivers, and lakes, habitats that were plentiful during their reign. The larval stages of amphibians, such as those seen in species like Ichthyostega, allowed them to exploit aquatic ecosystems fully before maturing into adults capable of venturing onto land. This dual-stage life cycle gave them an evolutionary advantage by reducing competition between juveniles and adults. Their physiology was another key factor. Amphibians developed lungs capable of extracting oxygen from the air, but many species also retained the ability to breathe through their skin, a feature that tied them to moist environments but also allowed flexibility in their habitat choices. This adaptation enabled them to explore terrestrial food sources such as insects and other invertebrates, which were flourishing in the Carboniferous forests. Amphibians became crucial predators in these ecosystems, preying on smaller animals and regulating insect populations. The amphibians of this era also exhibited significant size diversity, which allowed them to occupy a range of ecological roles. Some species, like the massive Eriops, were formidable predators in their swampy habitats, using their strong jaws and sharp teeth to hunt fish and other amphibians. Others were more specialized, feeding on specific prey or exploiting particular niches within the ecosystem. Their adaptability and ecological versatility ensured their dominance in the absence of competing terrestrial vertebrates. The Carboniferous period, with its high oxygen levels and stable, humid climate, created the perfect conditions for amphibian success. The dense forests and vast wetlands provided ample food, shelter, and breeding grounds, allowing amphibians to proliferate and diversify. These ecosystems were ideal for their permeable skin and reliance on water for reproduction, giving them an advantage in environments where other vertebrates could not yet thrive. However, amphibians were not without their limitations. Their dependence on water for reproduction meant that their range was restricted to areas with consistent access to moist conditions. As climates began to shift toward the end of the Carboniferous, many amphibians faced challenges that would later lead to their decline. The drying of swamps and the emergence of more arid environments favored the evolution of reptiles, whose amniotic eggs and more advanced lung systems allowed them to colonize regions that amphibians could not. Despite these eventual challenges, early amphibians were essential in shaping terrestrial ecosystems. They established the groundwork for vertebrate life on land, influencing food webs and creating opportunities for other animals to evolve. Their dominance before reptiles is a testament to their adaptability and the favorable conditions of their time. Amphibians may not have been the ultimate rulers of the prehistoric world, but they were pioneers forging a path for vertebrate life that would eventually lead to the age of reptiles and, much later, the age of mammals. The evolution of the amniotic egg. The amniotic egg represents one of the most significant evolutionary innovations in vertebrate history. This adaptation allowed vertebrates to break free from their dependence on aquatic environments for reproduction, enabling them to colonize a vast array of terrestrial habitats. Its evolution marked a pivotal step in the transition from amphibian-dominated ecosystems to the rise of reptiles and their descendants. Amphibian eggs, though effective in their moist environments, were vulnerable to desiccation. They lacked a protective shell and relied on water to keep embryos hydrated. The amniotic egg solved this limitation by incorporating a series of membranes and a hard or leathery shell, creating a self-contained aquatic environment for the developing embryo. This structure was key to the success of the first amniotes, ancestral reptiles that diverged from amphibian-like ancestors. The amniotic egg includes several specialized membranes, each serving a vital function. The amnion surrounds the embryo in a fluid-filled sac, cushioning it against physical shocks and providing a stable environment. The allantois stores waste products, keeping them separate from the developing embryo while also facilitating gas exchange. The chorion, another membrane, regulates the exchange of gases and helps to retain moisture within the egg. The yolk sac delivers essential nutrients, ensuring the embryo's growth until it hatches. Together, these features made the amniotic egg a secure, self-sufficient system. This evolutionary leap gave early amniotes a critical advantage in terrestrial environments. Unlike amphibians, which were confined to moist habitats, amniotes could lay their eggs in drier areas, expanding their ecological range. This adaptability was particularly advantageous as climates shifted and dry regions became more prevalent. Early reptiles exploited this ability, colonizing forests, grasslands, and even arid regions where amphibians could not thrive. The emergence of the amniotic egg also spurred diversification. Freed from the constraints of water-bound reproduction, amniotes radiated into a variety of forms and niches. Some evolved into larger terrestrial predators, while others adapted to herbivory or more specialized roles. Over time, this lineage would give rise to the vast array of reptiles, including dinosaurs, and eventually birds and mammals. The fossil record provides insight into the origins of the amniotic egg. Early amniotes, such as Hylonomus, one of the first known reptiles, likely laid eggs in protected environments like rotting logs or soil. These eggs were small and leathery, similar to those of modern reptiles, and were well suited to their terrestrial habitats. As evolutionary pressures favored larger body sizes and greater reproductive success, eggs evolved to contain more yolk, allowing embryos to develop further before hatching. The amniotic egg's impact extended beyond reproduction. It fundamentally altered vertebrate life cycles, allowing for more complex and independent juvenile stages. By developing within the egg, young amniotes were better prepared for survival upon hatching, reducing mortality rates and increasing the likelihood of species propagation. This efficiency contributed to the dominance of reptiles and later groups in terrestrial ecosystems. The evolution of the amniotic egg is a story of overcoming constraints. It represents an elegant solution to the challenges of life on land and stands as a testament to the adaptability and innovation of life. From its origins in small early reptiles to its modern manifestations in birds and some mammals, this evolutionary milestone reshaped the trajectory of vertebrate history. It enabled the exploration of new environments, the rise of diverse lineages, and the eventual dominance of life forms that could conquer nearly every corner of the planet. The first mammal ancestors and their role in shaping early terrestrial life. The story of mammals begins long before the appearance of fur, milk, or warm-blooded bodies. It begins with a group of ancient creatures known as synapsids, which emerged during the Carboniferous period. These early ancestors of mammals set the stage for a revolutionary shift in terrestrial life, diverging from their reptilian contemporaries in both form and function. Synapsids were among the first vertebrates to experiment with traits that would eventually define mammals, and their evolutionary journey was pivotal in shaping ecosystems of their time. Synapsids are characterized by a unique skull structure with a single temporal opening behind each eye socket. This opening allowed for stronger jaw muscles, enabling more efficient feeding and a wider range of dietary strategies. This adaptation gave synapsids a competitive edge, allowing them to dominate terrestrial environments during the Permian period. Creatures like Dimetrodon, often mistaken for a dinosaur due to its sail-like back, were actually synapsids. They played essential roles as apex predators and opportunistic carnivores in the ecosystems of their era. One of the critical evolutionary trends seen in early synapsids was the gradual development of more advanced metabolic systems. Unlike their cold-blooded contemporaries, synapsids began to evolve traits that hinted at endothermy or warm-bloodedness. Evidence from fossilized bones suggests that some synapsids developed faster growth rates and more efficient respiratory systems, which may have allowed them to maintain higher activity levels in varying environmental conditions. These traits set the foundation for the metabolic flexibility seen in modern mammals. Another hallmark of early synapsids was their evolution toward more specialized teeth. Unlike the uniform teeth of reptiles, synapsids began developing differentiated teeth suited for specific tasks like cutting, grinding, and tearing. This innovation, known as heterodonty, allowed them to exploit a wider range of food sources, from tough plant material to flesh. These dental adaptations not only diversified their ecological roles, but also paved the way for the complex dietary strategies seen in later mammalian lineages. As the Permian period progressed, synapsids evolved into increasingly varied forms. Some became large, lumbering herbivores, while others adapted to be nimble predators. However, the end of the Permian brought the most catastrophic extinction event in Earth's history. Over 90% of species disappeared, and the dominance of synapsids was challenged. Despite this, their resilience allowed them to survive into the Triassic, where they coexisted with and competed against emerging archosaurs, the ancestors of dinosaurs. It was during the Triassic that synapsids began to take on more distinctly mammalian traits. The cynodonts, a subgroup of synapsids, exhibited features like more efficient jaw mechanics, secondary palates for breathing while chewing, and possibly the first rudimentary fur. These adaptations were responses to shifting climates and predation pressures, enabling them to thrive in niches where larger reptiles could not. Cynodonts played a significant ecological role as both predators and prey. Their small size allowed them to exploit burrowing and nocturnal habits, reducing direct competition with larger reptiles. These behaviors are thought to have driven the evolution of better sensory systems, including enhanced hearing and smell, which are hallmarks of modern mammals. Additionally, their ability to regulate body temperature may have given them a survival advantage during periods of environmental instability. The legacy of these early mammal ancestors lies in their adaptability and innovation. They demonstrated how incremental changes in metabolism, dental structure, and sensory capabilities could reshape the way vertebrates interacted with their environments. The evolutionary experiments of synapsids laid the groundwork for mammals to rise after the age of dinosaurs, but their influence extended far beyond their lineage. By shaping ecosystems as predators, herbivores, and survivors, they contributed to the diversification and complexity of terrestrial life as a whole. The Permian period, climate change and the rise of reptiles. The Permian period was a time of profound ecological transformation, marking the final chapter of the Paleozoic era. This period saw dramatic shifts in climate, the expansion of arid environments, and the emergence of reptiles as dominant terrestrial vertebrates. These changes not only reshaped ecosystems, but also set the stage for future evolutionary innovations, including the eventual rise of dinosaurs. The Permian began with a relatively mild and humid climate, supporting expansive forests of seed ferns, horsetails, and club mosses. However, as the period progressed, significant tectonic shifts altered global climates. Mountain-building events led to the creation of vast desert landscapes, while fluctuating sea levels contributed to widespread habitat loss. These changes favored organisms that could adapt to drier, more variable environments, and reptiles emerged as key players in this new ecological dynamic. Reptiles distinguished themselves from their amphibian predecessors through key physiological innovations. The evolution of the amniotic egg allowed reptiles to reproduce away from water, providing embryos with a self-contained aquatic environment. This adaptation was revolutionary, enabling reptiles to colonize arid and semi-arid regions where amphibians could not thrive. The hard or leathery shells of these eggs also offered better protection against desiccation and predation, giving reptiles a significant reproductive advantage. Another critical adaptation was the development of scaly, keratinized skin. Unlike the permeable skin of amphibians, reptilian skin reduced water loss, making them better suited for life in dry environments. Coupled with more efficient respiratory and excretory systems, reptiles could conserve water and maintain homeostasis under challenging conditions. These traits allowed them to exploit habitats ranging from deserts to upland regions, expanding their ecological reach. During the Permian, reptiles diversified into several distinct lineages. Early reptiles like the parareptiles occupied various ecological niches, from small insectivores to larger herbivores. One of the most significant groups to emerge was the diapsids, characterized by their two temporal openings in the skull. This lineage would later give rise to archosaurs, the ancestors of dinosaurs. But in the Permian, they shared ecosystems with other reptilian groups. Reptiles were not the only vertebrates adapting to the changing landscapes of the Permian. Synapsids, the ancestors of mammals, were still prominent during this time, competing with reptiles for dominance. Some synapsids, such as the herbivorous Edaphosaurus and the carnivorous Dimetrodon, occupied apex roles in their ecosystems. However, as climates became increasingly arid, the adaptive traits of reptiles began to outshine those of synapsids, especially in regions where water sources were scarce. The end of the Permian was marked by the most catastrophic mass extinction in Earth's history. Volcanic activity released massive amounts of greenhouse gases, triggering rapid global warming and oceanic anoxia. Up to 95% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species were wiped out. Despite this devastation, reptiles proved remarkably resilient. Their water-conserving physiology and reproductive strategies allowed them to survive and adapt to the harsh post-extinction environment, giving them a head start in the recovery period. The survival and diversification of reptiles after the Permian laid the foundation for their dominance in the Mesozoic era. By capitalizing on their adaptations to arid conditions and filling ecological niches left vacant by extinction, they became the architects of a new era of terrestrial ecosystems. Their evolutionary success was a testament to the profound interplay between environmental pressures and biological innovation, a theme that echoes throughout Earth's history. Dimetrodon and early predators, the apex predators before the dinosaurs. Long before the first dinosaurs roamed the Earth, the world was dominated by creatures like Dimetrodon, a fascinating apex predator from the Permian period. Often mistaken for a dinosaur due to its imposing sail-backed profile, Dimetrodon was actually a synapsid, a group more closely related to mammals than reptiles. Its dominance and role in the ecosystem offer a glimpse into the evolutionary arms race that shaped life before the Mesozoic era. Dimetrodon was a master predator occupying the top of the food chain in its ecosystems. Its elongated, blade-like teeth, for which it was named, were ideal for slicing through flesh, making it an efficient hunter. These teeth were differentiated with sharp incisors and larger canines, a feature that set it apart from many of its contemporaries and hinted at the beginnings of more complex dentition later seen in mammals. Dimetrodon's robust skull and powerful jaws allowed it to dispatch prey with precision, targeting herbivorous synapsids and amphibians that shared its environment. One of Dimetrodon's most striking features was the sail on its back, formed by elongated vertebral spines covered in skin. This structure has intrigued scientists for decades, leading to various theories about its function. One prevailing hypothesis suggests the sail played a role in thermoregulation, allowing Dimetrodon to absorb or dissipate heat more effectively in the fluctuating climates of the Permian. By warming up quickly in the morning or shedding excess heat during the day, it could remain active and outcompete slower, less efficient rivals. Beyond thermoregulation, the sail may have served as a display structure, useful for communication or intimidation. In ecosystems filled with competing predators and prey, visual signaling could have provided an advantage, whether to deter rivals, attract mates, or assert dominance. This blend of functionality and visual impact made Dimetrodon a symbol of evolutionary innovation, thriving in an ever-changing landscape. Dimetrodon was not alone in its predatory prowess during the Permian. The period also saw other early predators like the Gorgonopsians, a group of synapsids characterized by saber-like teeth and agile, muscular builds. These creatures were swift hunters, adapted to pursue prey in more arid environments that were becoming common in the Permian. Their specialized adaptations allowed them to compete with Dimetrodon and other predators, demonstrating the diverse strategies that early apex predators employed. The ecosystems of the Permian period were dynamic, with an intricate web of interactions between predators and prey. Dimetrodon and its contemporaries lived alongside a variety of herbivorous synapsids, large amphibians, and early reptiles. This predator-prey dynamic drove an evolutionary arms race, pushing species to develop better defenses, more efficient hunting methods, and innovative adaptations to secure their place in the food chain. Despite their dominance, apex predators like Dimetrodon were not immune to the forces of mass extinction. The end of the Permian brought catastrophic environmental changes, wiping out nearly all life on Earth. Dimetrodon and its kin vanished in this upheaval, but their evolutionary legacy persisted. The synapsid lineage would eventually give rise to mammals, while the niches they vacated paved the way for the rise of archosaurs, the ancestors of dinosaurs. Dimetrodon's reign highlights a critical chapter in Earth's history, showcasing the ingenuity of early predators in a world before dinosaurs. Its adaptations, from differentiated teeth to its iconic sail, underscore the complexity and creativity of evolution in shaping life's pioneers. The mammal-like reptiles, what traits set them apart? Mammal-like reptiles, or synapsids, were a fascinating group that bridged the evolutionary gap between primitive reptiles and true mammals. These creatures thrived for hundreds of millions of years, pioneering traits that would later define mammals while adapting to a range of environments and challenges. Their unique combination of characteristics not only set them apart from other reptiles of their time, but also laid the foundation for the emergence of mammals. One defining trait of mammal-like reptiles was their skull structure, specifically the single temporal fenestra, a hole behind each eye socket. This feature allowed for larger jaw muscles, giving synapsids a stronger and more efficient bite. This was a critical adaptation for diverse feeding strategies, from crushing tough vegetation to tearing through prey. Unlike many reptiles with simple, uniform teeth, synapsids also displayed heterodonty, meaning their teeth varied in shape and function. They had incisors for cutting, canines for piercing, and molars for grinding, an evolutionary leap that improved food processing and energy efficiency. Another significant trait was their posture and locomotion. Mammal-like reptiles showed a shift from the sprawling gait, typical of early reptiles, to a more upright stance, especially in later groups like therapsids. This allowed for greater mobility, endurance, and versatility in their movements. An upright stance also enabled more efficient breathing during activity, a precursor to the high metabolic rates seen in mammals. These adaptations likely gave synapsids a competitive edge in capturing prey or escaping predators. Thermoregulation was another area where mammal-like reptiles began to diverge from their cold-blooded relatives. While evidence suggests they were not fully warm-blooded, some synapsids, particularly the later therapsids, may have developed partial endothermy. This would have allowed them to maintain higher activity levels in varying climates, giving them an advantage in expanding into different environments. Fossil evidence, such as vascularized bones and possible insulating features, supports this theory. The development of more advanced sensory capabilities was also notable. The structure of synapsid skulls and inner ears hints at an improvement in hearing, allowing these creatures to detect higher frequency sounds. This would have been beneficial for hunting or avoiding predators. Their enlarged brain cases suggest an increase in brain size, indicating enhanced problem-solving abilities and more complex behaviors, traits that became more pronounced in their mammalian descendants. Social behavior may have also started to emerge among some mammal-like reptiles. Fossil evidence of burrow-like structures associated with certain species indicates potential group living or parental care, behaviors that foreshadowed the strong familial bonds seen in mammals. This social complexity would have further contributed to their survival in challenging environments. One of the most advanced groups of mammal-like reptiles, the cynodonts, displayed traits that closely approached those of mammals. These included a secondary palate, which allowed them to breathe while eating, and fur-like structures for insulation. Cynodonts represent the pinnacle of synapsid evolution before the transition to true mammals, serving as a bridge to the modern world. Despite their innovations, mammal-like reptiles faced significant challenges. As climates changed and ecosystems transformed, they competed with other emerging groups, including early archosaurs. While many synapsids succumbed to these pressures, their evolutionary legacy persisted through the lineage that gave rise to mammals. The traits that set mammal-like reptiles apart, specialized teeth, upright posture, and advanced thermoregulation, are the very features that enabled mammals to thrive in a post-reptilian world. Mammal-like reptiles stand as a testament to the creativity of evolution, showing how incremental changes over millions of years can result in entirely new forms of life. Their story is not just one of survival, but of innovation, setting the stage for the age of mammals to come. Earth's largest mass extinction, how it reset life on Earth. The Permian-Triassic extinction, often called the Great Dying, was the most devastating mass extinction in Earth's history. Over the course of a few million years, up to 90% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial species vanished. This catastrophic event drastically reshaped life on Earth, clearing the stage for new evolutionary paths and redefining the biological and ecological landscapes forever. The primary drivers of this extinction are believed to have been intense volcanic activity and the environmental chaos it unleashed. In what is now Siberia, massive volcanic eruptions created the Siberian Traps, a sprawling expanse of lava flows. These eruptions released enormous quantities of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere, triggering a cascade of ecological disasters. The resulting rapid global warming raised ocean temperatures, disrupted weather patterns, and caused acidification in marine environments, devastating marine life. In addition to warming, the oceans experienced anoxia, a depletion of oxygen that suffocated marine ecosystems. Vast areas of the seafloor, once teeming with life, became barren, devoid of the oxygen necessary to sustain most forms of marine life. This anoxic event profoundly impacted coral reefs, shellfish, and other marine organisms that depended on stable ocean chemistry. On land, life fared no better. Forests withered under the strain of extreme climatic shifts, leaving vast deserts in their wake. Herbivores lost their food sources, and in turn, carnivores faced starvation. Many of the large synapsids, which had been the dominant land animals, could not adapt quickly enough to the rapidly changing conditions and were wiped out. Only a few hardy survivors managed to persist in the harsh new reality. Among the survivors were the ancestors of modern reptiles, amphibians, and mammals. These species were often smaller and more adaptable, traits that gave them an edge in navigating the volatile post-extinction world. The reset of ecosystems allowed these groups to exploit new niches that had been left vacant by the extinction of previously dominant species. This biological turnover laid the foundation for the rise of the dinosaurs, which would dominate the next era of life on Earth. The aftermath of the extinction also saw a remarkable proliferation of plant life. As the Earth slowly recovered, pioneering species of ferns and other resilient plants spread across the desolate landscapes. These plants were critical in stabilizing soils and creating new habitats, setting the stage for a gradual resurgence of complex ecosystems. The Great Dying also reshaped the course of evolution in profound ways. The organisms that emerged in the aftermath were fundamentally different from those that had come before, with adaptations that reflected the harsh conditions of their ancestors' survival. This event was a stark reminder of life's fragility, but also its resilience. The devastation paved the way for new forms of life to flourish, reshaping the planet's ecosystems and resetting the evolutionary clock. In the geological record, the Permian-Triassic extinction marks the boundary between the Permian and Triassic periods, a stark dividing line in Earth's history. It stands as a testament to the planet's capacity for regeneration, even in the face of near-total annihilation. While the Great Dying was a moment of unparalleled loss, it also underscored the tenacity of life to adapt and thrive in a world transformed. The Triassic period, the ecosystems that followed mass extinction. The Triassic period was a time of recovery and experimentation in the wake of the devastating Permian-Triassic mass extinction. Life clawed its way back from the brink, creating ecosystems that were dynamic, unique, and vastly different from what had come before. This era marked the beginning of a long evolutionary journey that would ultimately give rise to the dinosaurs. In the oceans, ecosystems began to rebuild as species adapted to new challenges. Marine life saw the rise of ammonites, whose coiled shells became a hallmark of Triassic seas. These creatures were highly adaptable, thriving in environments where less resilient species had vanished. Early marine reptiles such as ichthyosaurs and nothosaurs emerged, evolving streamlined bodies that allowed them to dominate aquatic ecosystems. Coral reefs slowly re-established themselves, forming the foundation for marine biodiversity that would flourish later. On land, ecosystems were still sparse compared to their former lushness. The scorched earth left by the Great Dying made recovery slow. Early forests were dominated by hardy conifers, cycads, and ginkgos, plants that could tolerate harsh conditions. These plants formed the backbone of terrestrial ecosystems, providing food and shelter for herbivorous animals that began to emerge. Among the first land vertebrates to thrive were the archosaurs, a group that included the ancestors of both crocodiles and dinosaurs. Their success lay in their adaptability. Many archosaurs developed upright postures, which allowed them to move efficiently and conserve energy. Some were small and agile, while others grew to larger sizes, exploring diverse ecological niches. These creatures played pivotal roles in reshaping ecosystems, both as predators and prey. Herbivorous reptiles such as rhynchosaurs and dicynodonts carved out a new era of plant-animal interactions. Rhynchosaurs, with their beak-like mouths, were well suited for grazing on the tough, fibrous plants of the time. Dicynodonts, survivors of the mass extinction, persisted into the Triassic as some of the last representatives of the mammal-like reptiles. These creatures were robust, with features such as tusks and powerful jaws, allowing them to feed on a variety of plant material. The climate during the Triassic was warm and relatively stable, providing an environment conducive to evolutionary experimentation. Large swathes of land were arid, punctuated by seasonal rains that brought life to dry riverbeds and basins. This climatic setup influenced the distribution of ecosystems, with lush river valleys and sparse deserts coexisting within relatively short distances. As ecosystems stabilized, competition between species drove innovation. Predator-prey dynamics became more intricate as archosaurs diversified. Early predators like Postosuchus, a crocodile-like carnivore, emerged as apex hunters, dominating their environments with sharp teeth and powerful limbs. Smaller carnivores, such as Coelophysis, began to appear toward the end of the Triassic, showcasing early traits that would define later dinosaurs. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Triassic was its role as a crucible for new evolutionary strategies. Creatures with novel traits had opportunities to thrive in niches that had been left empty. This period laid the groundwork for the dominance of dinosaurs, which were just beginning their ascent by the end of the Triassic. Small and unassuming at first, these early dinosaurs were overshadowed by other groups, but began to show adaptations such as hollow bones and efficient movement that would later make them unrivaled rulers of the Mesozoic. The Triassic period is often seen as a bridge between the Earth's greatest extinction and the explosive diversification of life that would define the Jurassic. It was a time of rebuilding, where survival hinged on adaptability and innovation. From its arid deserts to its recovering forests and flourishing oceans, the ecosystems of the Triassic were a testament to life's ability to bounce back and set the stage for new evolutionary epochs. The emergence of archosaurs, the ancestors of crocodiles and dinosaurs. Archosaurs, meaning ruling reptiles, marked a turning point in the evolutionary history of vertebrates. These creatures, which would eventually lead to crocodiles, dinosaurs, and even modern birds, emerged during the Triassic period as survivors and thrivers in a post-mass extinction world. Their success stemmed from several evolutionary innovations that allowed them to dominate terrestrial ecosystems for millions of years. Archosaurs originated from a group of reptiles known as diapsids, which were characterized by two holes in their skulls behind the eyes. This trait lightened their skulls, providing room for muscle attachment and enhancing their bite strength. As archosaurs evolved, they developed further skull modifications, including antorbital fenestrae, additional openings in the skull in front of the eyes. These openings reduced the weight of their skulls without sacrificing structural integrity, a feature that would prove advantageous for larger predators. One of the key traits that distinguished archosaurs from other reptiles of their time was their semi-upright to fully upright posture. Unlike the sprawling gait of earlier reptiles, archosaurs could position their legs directly beneath their bodies. This adaptation enabled them to move with greater efficiency, allowing for sustained activity and higher speeds. Such an advantage proved critical for both hunting and avoiding predators in the competitive ecosystems of the Triassic. Another hallmark of archosaur evolution was their respiratory efficiency. Early archosaurs developed unidirectional airflow in their lungs, a system still found in modern birds. This feature allowed for more effective oxygen exchange, supporting higher metabolic rates and enabling them to be more active and adaptive in their environments. The archosaur lineage split into two main branches: the pseudoseuchians, which would eventually give rise to crocodiles, and the avometatarsalia, which included the ancestors of pterosaurs and dinosaurs. Pseudoseuchians were diverse, including heavily armored forms like etosaurs and large apex predators, such as rauisuchians. These creatures dominated the Triassic landscapes, filling roles as both herbivores and carnivores. Meanwhile, the avometatarsalia lineage was characterized by lighter, more agile forms. Early members of this group began to display traits that would later define dinosaurs, such as elongated limbs and hollow bones. This lineage also included the precursors to pterosaurs, which would become the first vertebrates capable of powered flight. Archosaurs thrived in a variety of environments, from arid deserts to lush floodplains. Their adaptability was key to their evolutionary success. Herbivorous forms, like etosaurs, developed armored bodies and specialized teeth for processing tough plant material, while carnivorous forms evolved powerful jaws and serrated teeth for dispatching prey. Some even ventured into semi-aquatic habitats, hinting at the future ecological diversity of their crocodilian descendants. The evolutionary success of archosaurs was also linked to their reproductive strategies. Many archosaurs laid eggs with hard, calcified shells, which offered better protection against environmental challenges compared to the leathery eggs of other reptiles. This adaptation likely increased their survival rates, allowing populations to thrive in a range of conditions. As the Triassic period progressed, archosaurs increasingly outcompeted other reptilian groups, such as synapsids and rhynchosaurs, which had dominated earlier ecosystems. Their efficient locomotion, advanced respiratory systems, and versatile feeding strategies made them formidable competitors in the evolutionary arms race. By the end of the Triassic, archosaurs had firmly established themselves as the dominant group of terrestrial vertebrates. While many pseudoseuchians perished during the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, their crocodilian descendants persisted. At the same time, the Avometatarsalia branch diversified, setting the stage for the age of the dinosaurs. Archosaurs were more than just a transitional group. They were pioneers of innovation. Their traits and adaptations not only defined their own success, but also laid the foundation for the rise of dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and ultimately birds. Their legacy is a testament to the power of evolutionary adaptability in shaping life on Earth. Climate and continental drift. How shifting continents created new environments. The movement of Earth's continents over geological time profoundly shaped the planet's climate and ecosystems. Continental drift, driven by the slow but relentless movement of tectonic plates, has been a dominant force in the history of life. Shifting land masses not only created new habitats but also altered global climate patterns, leading to periods of both evolutionary opportunity and mass extinction. During the early phases of continental drift, the distribution of land and ocean was a critical factor in shaping climates. When continents clustered together, vast deserts often formed in the interiors, as moisture from coastal regions could not penetrate deeply inland. This aridity promoted the evolution of hardy organisms capable of surviving extreme conditions. Conversely, the breakup of large landmasses created new coastlines and expanded marine environments, which facilitated the diversification of aquatic and terrestrial life. As land masses moved, ocean currents also shifted, redistributing heat around the globe. This interplay between land and sea significantly influenced atmospheric circulation. For example, the movement of continents toward polar regions could trigger glaciations, as large land masses in these areas allowed ice sheets to form and persist. These ice ages in turn reduced sea levels, exposing new land bridges that allowed species to migrate and interact in ways that shaped their evolution. One of the most profound effects of continental drift was the creation of new mountain ranges. When tectonic plates collided, they forced land upwards, forming towering peaks. These mountains acted as barriers, redirecting wind and moisture patterns and often creating rain shadows, regions of arid land on the leeward side. Such geographic barriers isolated populations, driving speciation as organisms adapted to their unique environments. Mountain-building events also released carbon dioxide into the atmosphere through volcanic activity, contributing to global warming over geological timescales. Rift valleys formed as continents pulled apart, creating low-lying regions that often became fertile basins for rivers and lakes. These areas provided rich habitats for plant and animal life, promoting biodiversity. The separation of continents also isolated populations of organisms, allowing them to evolve independently. This geographic isolation is a major driver of evolutionary divergence, as seen in the distinct faunas of different continents. The movement of continents over millions of years also played a role in regulating Earth's carbon cycle. When land masses drifted into tropical regions, they supported lush vegetation that absorbed atmospheric carbon dioxide, leading to global cooling. Conversely, as continents moved away from the tropics, weathering of exposed rock released carbon dioxide, contributing to warming. These long-term processes regulated Earth's climate, creating cycles of greenhouse and icehouse conditions that influenced the evolutionary trajectories of life. Continental drift also shaped the development of ecosystems by bringing previously isolated species into contact. When land masses converged, species from different regions competed for resources, often resulting in the extinction of less competitive organisms. However, these interactions also led to the emergence of new ecological niches and the evolution of specialized adaptations. The timing of continental collisions and separations often coincided with mass extinction events. For instance, the assembly of supercontinents created harsh environments in their interiors, leading to widespread extinction. Conversely, their breakup created new coastlines and shallow seas that supported diverse marine life, setting the stage for evolutionary radiations. As continents continued to shift, they created migration pathways for both terrestrial and aquatic species. These migrations brought new genes into populations, fostering genetic diversity and resilience. For example, the movement of land masses toward the equator created warm, stable climates that acted as evolutionary hotspots, while their drift toward the poles challenged organisms to adapt to colder conditions. The story of continental drift is one of constant transformation. Each movement reshaped ecosystems, challenged life forms to adapt, and set the stage for evolutionary innovation. By altering climates, creating new environments, and driving geographic isolation, the movement of continents ensured that life on Earth would never remain static, fostering the incredible diversity we see in the fossil record. The first dinosaurs. What made them different from other reptiles? The earliest dinosaurs emerged during the late Triassic period, stepping into a world already ruled by a vast array of reptiles. What set them apart from their reptilian counterparts was not immediately obvious but proved pivotal over millions of years. Dinosaurs distinguished themselves through a combination of anatomical innovations, ecological flexibility, and evolutionary strategies that allowed them to adapt and thrive in changing environments. One of the most critical traits that differentiated dinosaurs was their upright posture. Unlike sprawling reptiles such as crocodiles, early dinosaurs had limbs positioned directly beneath their bodies. This upright stance allowed for more efficient locomotion and supported greater endurance, enabling them to run faster and cover longer distances. This anatomical feature gave them a significant advantage in predator-prey dynamics and resource acquisition. It also freed up their hands in the case of bipedal species, paving the way for specialized adaptations like grasping and manipulating objects. Dinosaurs were also distinguished by their skeletal structure. Their hips, particularly the arrangement of the pelvic bones, provided the support needed for their upright posture. This configuration evolved into two primary types: the Saurischian, lizard-hipped, and Ornithischian, bird-hipped structures. While Saurischians included some of the largest carnivores and herbivores, Ornithischians developed unique adaptations like armor plating and elaborate head crests. This diversification began early and hinted at the evolutionary potential of these creatures. Another key difference lay in their respiratory systems. Evidence from fossilized bones suggests that many dinosaurs had an advanced system of air sacs similar to modern birds. This system allowed for more efficient oxygen exchange, supporting high levels of activity. In a world where survival often hinged on speed and agility, this physiological advantage was crucial. This feature also suggests that early dinosaurs may have been warm-blooded or at least partially so, a trait that would have further set them apart from cold-blooded reptiles of their time. The dietary diversity of dinosaurs also played a significant role in their distinction. While many Triassic reptiles were specialized in their feeding habits, early dinosaurs displayed a remarkable ability to exploit a wide range of resources. Herbivorous dinosaurs developed efficient jaws and teeth for processing tough vegetation, while carnivorous species honed their speed and agility for hunting. This adaptability in diet allowed dinosaurs to occupy a variety of ecological niches, enabling them to outcompete other reptiles in many environments. Behaviorally, dinosaurs may have displayed levels of social organization that were uncommon in other reptiles. Evidence of herding behavior, particularly in herbivorous species, indicates that some dinosaurs lived in complex social groups. This behavior offered protection from predators and improved their chances of survival in harsh conditions. Fossilized trackways and nesting sites suggest that even the earliest dinosaurs exhibited parental care, a trait that may have given their offspring a greater chance at survival compared to the more independent strategies of other reptiles. The emergence of dinosaurs also coincided with a period of ecological upheaval. The extinction of many dominant reptilian groups opened up new opportunities for the relatively small and agile ancestors of dinosaurs. Their ability to adapt to these changing conditions, coupled with their unique physical and behavioral traits, allowed them to rise from small niche-dwelling creatures to dominant terrestrial vertebrates within a few million years. While their early competitors were constrained by anatomical and physiological limitations, dinosaurs demonstrated an unparalleled capacity for innovation and adaptation. Their upright posture, efficient respiratory systems, dietary flexibility, and potential for social complexity laid the groundwork for their eventual domination of terrestrial ecosystems. This evolutionary head start set the stage for the incredible diversity and success that dinosaurs would achieve in the millions of years to come. Triassic survivors: how some species adapted and thrived after mass extinction. The end Permian mass extinction, often called the Great Dying, devastated life on Earth, wiping out over 90% of species. Yet, this cataclysm also set the stage for a radical reshaping of ecosystems. Amid this desolation, a few survivors managed to adapt to the altered world, leveraging their resilience and evolutionary ingenuity to flourish in the new Triassic landscapes. Among the most notable survivors were the therapsids, a group of mammal-like reptiles that had thrived during the Permian. While many of their relatives perished in the extinction, certain therapsid lineages, like the cynodonts, managed to endure. Cynodonts exhibited traits that likely gave them an edge, such as a semi-upright posture and advanced jaw mechanics, for processing food efficiently. These adaptations enabled them to exploit a variety of ecological niches, from burrowing insectivores to small carnivores. Their survival paved the way for the eventual evolution of true mammals. Archosaurs, a diverse group that included the ancestors of crocodiles and dinosaurs, also emerged as key players in the post-extinction world. These creatures displayed features that helped them outcompete many other reptiles in the unstable Triassic environment. Their efficient upright gait allowed for greater mobility and endurance, while their sophisticated respiratory systems likely supported higher metabolic rates. Archosaurs diversified rapidly, producing a wide range of forms adapted to different ecological roles, from agile predators to plant-eating specialists. Plants, too, played a critical role in shaping the recovery of life during the Triassic. Conifers and seed ferns became dominant in many regions, offering stable food sources and shelter for herbivorous species. The ability of these plants to adapt to the drier and more erratic climate of the Triassic provided a foundation for new ecosystems to develop. Herbivores that survived the extinction, such as some species of dicynodonts, capitalized on these resilient plant groups, securing their foothold in the recovering food web. Marine ecosystems also underwent significant transformations. Bivalves, ammonoids, and early marine reptiles like nothosaurs and placodonts filled the void left by the extinction of many Permian marine species. These organisms adapted to the new conditions by developing innovative feeding strategies. Ammonoids, for example, diversified into a stunning array of shell shapes and sizes, allowing them to occupy various ecological niches as predators and prey. Meanwhile, marine reptiles evolved streamlined bodies and efficient swimming techniques, making them formidable hunters in the Triassic seas. Insect populations also rebounded, diversifying alongside the recovering plant life. Triassic insects like beetles and early flies adapted to the new plant species, developing specialized relationships that supported the regrowth of terrestrial ecosystems. These insects played a vital role in pollination and decomposition, processes crucial for sustaining life on land. The survivors of the Permian extinction had to contend with harsh environmental conditions, including volatile climates and shifting landscapes. Adaptive traits, such as efficient locomotion, flexible diets, and physiological innovations allowed them to navigate these challenges. As ecosystems stabilized, these species laid the groundwork for the explosive diversification of life that would follow in the later Triassic and Jurassic periods. This period of recovery and adaptation marked a turning point in Earth's history. The creatures that survived and thrived in the aftermath of the Great Dying were not merely remnants of the past. They were pioneers, shaping a new world that would eventually give rise to the age of dinosaurs. Their ability to adapt to catastrophic change underscores the resilience of life and the relentless drive of evolution to fill every available niche, no matter how inhospitable it may seem. Competition and cooperation, dinosaurs versus other reptiles. As the Triassic period unfolded, ecosystems began to stabilize after the mass extinction event that wiped out much of life on Earth. Among the survivors were two dominant groups of reptiles, the early dinosaurs and other archosaurs, including the ancestors of crocodiles, as well as various other reptiles like rhynchosaurs and etosaurs. These groups did not exist in isolation, but often shared overlapping habitats, leading to a complex web of competition and occasionally indirect cooperation that shaped their evolutionary trajectories. Early dinosaurs such as Herrerasaurus and Coelophysis were bipedal and exhibited adaptations that gave them an edge in the competitive Triassic ecosystems. Their upright posture and efficient locomotion allowed them to chase prey and evade predators with agility. They were likely warm-blooded or at least exhibited intermediate metabolic rates, which enabled them to be more active compared to their cold-blooded competitors. This gave dinosaurs a significant advantage, particularly in environments with fluctuating temperatures. However, dinosaurs were not the only innovative group in these ecosystems. Crocodilian ancestors such as Rauisuchians were formidable competitors. These archosaurs often grew larger than the early dinosaurs and occupied apex predator roles. With their semi-upright posture and powerful jaws, they were capable hunters of herbivores and smaller reptiles, including early dinosaurs. The Rauisuchians' size and strength made them dominant in many regions, forcing smaller dinosaurs to adapt or specialize in different ecological niches. Other herbivorous reptiles, such as rhynchosaurs and etosaurs, posed a different kind of challenge. These animals had unique adaptations for processing plant material and were well suited to exploiting the lush vegetation of the Triassic period. Rhynchosaurs, with their specialized beaks, fed on tough cycads and other low-growing plants, while etosaurs, armored like prehistoric tanks, were virtually immune to most predators. Their success as herbivores meant that dinosaurs such as early sauropodomorphs needed to develop their own feeding strategies, likely driving the evolution of their long necks and ability to reach vegetation other species could not. Despite this competition, some forms of indirect cooperation may have emerged. For example, as herbivores like rhynchosaurs thrived, they created openings in plant cover and dispersed seeds, which contributed to the overall diversity of the ecosystem. This indirectly benefited herbivorous dinosaurs that relied on similar food sources. In turn, the presence of diverse herbivores supported a variety of predators, including both dinosaurs and other reptiles, by maintaining a balanced food web. Competition wasn't limited to hunting and foraging. Nesting sites and breeding territories were also contested. Early dinosaurs, with their relatively smaller size, might have been more agile in selecting safe and secluded areas for their nests, helping their young survive in predator-heavy environments. Crocodilian ancestors, on the other hand, may have relied on brute force to defend their nesting grounds, establishing dominance in regions where they were more numerous. Over time, dinosaurs began to outcompete many of these rivals. Their adaptability, driven by rapid evolutionary experimentation, allowed them to explore new niches. For example, the evolution of quadrupedal herbivores like Plateosaurus enabled them to exploit food sources that other herbivores could not, giving them an advantage as plant-eating specialists. Similarly, the diversification of theropod dinosaurs into agile predators allowed them to exploit a wider range of prey. However, not all competitors were entirely pushed aside. Crocodilian ancestors adapted to new niches, becoming semi-aquatic predators and scavengers, a role they continue to dominate today. This shift minimized direct competition with dinosaurs, allowing both groups to coexist for millions of years. The dynamic interplay between dinosaurs and other reptiles during the Triassic was a crucible of evolutionary innovation. It was this competition, alongside occasional cooperation, that spurred the rapid diversification of dinosaurs and laid the groundwork for their dominance in the Jurassic and beyond. Each adaptation and ecological shift was a piece of the puzzle, pushing dinosaurs toward their eventual reign as the rulers of Earth's ecosystems. From small to giant, how and why dinosaurs grew massive. The story of how dinosaurs transitioned from small, agile creatures to some of the largest animals to ever walk the earth is a tale of evolution shaped by opportunity, competition, and environment. Early dinosaurs such as Eoraptor and Herrerasaurus were modest in size, rarely exceeding the length of a human. Yet over millions of years, some species, like the colossal Argentinosaurus, reached lengths exceeding modern skyscrapers. This dramatic growth was not random, but the result of a series of evolutionary advantages that allowed these giants to thrive. A major factor driving the increase in dinosaur size was their skeletal design. Dinosaurs had a unique adaptation. Their bones were both lightweight and strong, supported by a honeycomb-like internal structure. This allowed massive dinosaurs like sauropods to carry their enormous bodies without collapsing under their own weight. The lightweight skeletons also facilitated efficient movement, ensuring these giants could roam vast distances in search of food and water. Another critical element was their physiology. Evidence suggests that many dinosaurs had high metabolic rates, similar to modern birds. While this might seem counterintuitive for creatures so large, their metabolic efficiency allowed them to process large quantities of vegetation or prey, fueling rapid growth. Additionally, their size itself became a survival advantage. Larger bodies were more effective at deterring predators, allowing these dinosaurs to live longer and reproduce more effectively. For herbivores, size also meant greater access to food sources like tall trees, which were out of reach for smaller competitors. The environment of the Mesozoic era also played a significant role. During the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, the Earth was warmer and more humid, creating a lush, plant-rich landscape. This abundance of vegetation provided an almost unlimited food supply for herbivorous dinosaurs. The evolution of flowering plants further diversified the diet of these giants, supporting their continued growth. For carnivorous dinosaurs, the presence of massive herbivores created opportunities to evolve into larger predators, like Tyrannosaurus rex, capable of taking down equally enormous prey. Size was also a response to competition. The arms race between herbivores and carnivores drove both groups to grow larger. Herbivores like Brachiosaurus developed long necks to graze from tree canopies, while predators like Giganotosaurus evolved powerful jaws and massive frames to counter these defenses. This cycle of escalation ensured that size became an advantageous trait for survival and dominance in these ecosystems. Reproductive strategies further reinforced gigantism. Larger dinosaurs could lay more eggs, increasing the chances of their offspring surviving. Unlike smaller species, which relied on fewer young and parental care, many large dinosaurs adopted a quantity-over-quality strategy. This allowed them to populate vast territories, spreading their genes and outcompeting smaller rivals. Social behavior may have also encouraged growth. Some evidence points to herding among certain species, such as hadrosaurs and sauropods. Larger body sizes within herds likely improved group defense against predators, fostering further selection for massive individuals. Despite these advantages, gigantism came with costs. Large dinosaurs required immense amounts of food and water, making them vulnerable during periods of drought or habitat loss. They were also more affected by shifts in the environment, such as climate changes or volcanic activity. However, their evolutionary success suggests that, for millions of years, the benefits of being massive far outweighed the risks. Ultimately, the evolutionary pathway from small to giant was a testament to the adaptability of dinosaurs. By exploiting environmental opportunities, evolving efficient physiology, and responding to ecological pressures, dinosaurs not only grew larger but also established themselves as dominant forces in the prehistoric world. Their size was not merely a trait, but a key to their incredible success, a defining feature of one of Earth's most extraordinary evolutionary experiments. Theropod beginnings, the ancestors of the most iconic carnivores. Theropods, the group that would one day give rise to the fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex and the agile Velociraptor, began their evolutionary journey as small, nimble predators. These early ancestors, emerging during the late Triassic period, laid the groundwork for the dominance of carnivorous dinosaurs for millions of years. They were agile hunters, opportunistic feeders, and some of the earliest examples of dinosaurs adapting to fill specific ecological niches. The earliest theropods, such as Coelophysis and Herrerasaurus, were far from the towering, bone-crushing predators we often associate with dinosaurs. Instead, they were relatively small, slender, and built for speed. With lightweight, hollow bones and powerful hind limbs, these early theropods excelled in pursuing prey and evading larger predators. Their sharp, serrated teeth and strong jaw muscles allowed them to tear into the flesh of their meals with efficiency, while their grasping hands with sharp claws could pin down struggling prey. Adaptability was a hallmark of early theropods. These animals were not exclusively carnivorous. Many of them likely fed on small animals, insects, and even plants when prey was scarce. This dietary flexibility allowed them to thrive in diverse environments, from arid deserts to dense forests. It also paved the way for later theropods to specialize in different ecological roles, eventually branching into a wide variety of sizes, shapes, and behaviors. A defining feature of theropods was their bipedal posture. By walking on two legs, theropods freed their forelimbs for other uses, such as grasping prey or manipulating objects. This posture also contributed to their speed and agility, giving them an edge over quadrupedal competitors. Over time, this feature would be refined, allowing larger theropods like Allosaurus to maintain balance while pursuing prey, and eventually leading to the evolution of flight in smaller, feathered theropods. Feathers themselves were another revolutionary adaptation in theropods. While early members of this group may not have sported full plumage, evidence from fossils such as Dilophosaurus and Sinosauropteryx suggests that protofeathers may have been present for insulation, display, or even aiding in agility by providing balance during high-speed chases. These early feathered theropods were the precursors to the fully feathered creatures that would eventually become birds. Social behavior may also have been a critical factor in theropod success. Fossil evidence suggests that some early theropods, like Coelophysis, may have hunted or lived in groups. This behavior could have allowed them to take down larger prey, defend against predators, or increase the survival rate of their young. Such social structures would later evolve into the complex pack behaviors seen in species like Deinonychus. As theropods spread across the planet, they began to diverge into a staggering array of forms. Some evolved into apex predators like Allosaurus and Giganotosaurus, capable of dominating their ecosystems. Others, like the ancestors of dromaeosaurs, became smaller and more specialized, eventually developing into the highly intelligent bird-like predators of the late Cretaceous. The success of early theropods can be attributed to their unique combination of physical adaptations, behavioral flexibility, and ecological versatility. These traits not only allowed them to outcompete other reptilian predators of their time, but also set the stage for the incredible diversity of theropods that would come to define the age of dinosaurs. From the fleet-footed hunters of the Triassic to the colossal carnivores of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, the story of theropods is one of constant innovation, adaptation, and evolution, a story that ultimately reshaped life on Earth. The evolution of herbivores, how plant-eating dinosaurs specialized. Herbivorous dinosaurs became some of the most diverse and successful creatures of their time, developing an astonishing array of adaptations to consume and digest the plants that dominated prehistoric landscapes. Their evolution was driven by the changing availability of vegetation, competition with other herbivores, and the constant arms race between predator and prey. From the early days of small bipedal plant eaters to the colossal, long-necked giants of the Jurassic, herbivorous dinosaurs specialized in ways that not only defined their own survival, but also transformed entire ecosystems. One of the earliest known herbivores among dinosaurs was Lesothosaurus, a small bipedal dinosaur with simple teeth suited for nipping soft vegetation. This basal ornithischian illustrates the humble beginnings of herbivorous dinosaurs, starting as opportunistic feeders. As they evolved, so too did their diets and the tools they used to process plants. Early herbivores like Heterodontosaurus developed differentiated teeth, with sharp incisors for cutting and cheek teeth for grinding, a crucial step in processing tougher plant materials. During the Jurassic period, the rise of tall gymnosperms such as conifers and cycads created new challenges and opportunities for herbivores. Sauropods, the largest land animals to ever walk the earth, rose to dominance by evolving specialized adaptations to exploit these towering plants. Their extraordinarily long necks, supported by lightweight but strong skeletal structures, allowed them to reach vegetation inaccessible to other herbivores. Teeth adapted for stripping foliage combined with massive digestive systems that could ferment and break down tough plant material, enabled sauropods like Diplodocus and Brachiosaurus to sustain their enormous bodies. Not all herbivores relied on size to secure their place in prehistoric ecosystems. Smaller dinosaurs like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus specialized in defense, evolving armored bodies to deter predators while grazing on low-lying plants. Stegosaurs developed distinctive plates along their backs, which may have served as a combination of defense and thermoregulation, while ankylosaurs became living tanks with thick armor and tail clubs. These adaptations allowed them to forage in relative safety even in predator-heavy environments. By the Cretaceous period, the diversification of angiosperms, flowering plants, spurred a new wave of herbivorous innovation. Hadrosaurs, or duck-billed dinosaurs, became particularly adept at exploiting this changing flora. Their complex dental batteries, featuring hundreds of interlocking teeth that continually replaced themselves, made them highly efficient at grinding tough vegetation. Some hadrosaurs, like Parasaurolophus, also developed elaborate crests, likely used for communication or display, which may have helped them coordinate in herds while grazing. Ceratopsians, such as Triceratops, represented another specialization among herbivores. With powerful beaks and massive shearing teeth, they were well equipped to process fibrous plants. Their large frills and horns not only served as defense mechanisms, but also likely played a role in social behavior, enabling them to compete for mates or establish dominance within groups. The success of herbivorous dinosaurs wasn't merely a result of their ability to eat plants. It was their role as ecosystem engineers that cemented their dominance. By consuming vast quantities of vegetation, sauropods helped shape the distribution of plant life, creating clearings and opening up space for smaller herbivores. Their dung likely enriched the soil, fostering the growth of new plants. This dynamic interaction between herbivores and their environment created ecosystems that were both resilient and diverse, supporting a wide range of life forms. The constant pressure from predators also played a significant role in shaping herbivorous dinosaurs. Whether through physical adaptations like armor and size or behavioral changes such as herding, plant eaters continually evolved strategies to outwit their carnivorous counterparts. This evolutionary arms race not only ensured the survival of herbivorous dinosaurs, but also contributed to the extraordinary diversity of life during the Mesozoic era. The evolution of herbivorous dinosaurs is a testament to the power of adaptation. From the small, nimble ancestors of the Triassic to the majestic giants of the Jurassic and the highly specialized grazers of the Cretaceous, these creatures exemplify how life can thrive by exploiting its environment to the fullest. Dinosaur skin, feathers, and scales, early evidence of their diversity. Dinosaurs were far from the drab, monotone reptiles once depicted in early paleontology. Their skin, feathers, and scales represent a stunning array of adaptations, revealing a complex story of evolution and ecological diversity. Fossil evidence provides snapshots of this variability, showcasing not only the physical characteristics of dinosaurs, but also how these features contributed to their survival and interaction with their environment. The most traditional view of dinosaurs involves their scales, and indeed, many species retain this ancient feature inherited from their reptilian ancestors. Fossilized impressions of scales from creatures like hadrosaurs demonstrate a mosaic of small, non-overlapping scales, forming intricate patterns. These scales likely served as a form of armor, providing some protection against predators and environmental wear. In larger species like titanosaurs, scales might have also played a role in thermoregulation. as their large bodies required efficient heat management in varying climates. However, not all dinosaurs fit the stereotype of scaly-skinned behemoths. A groundbreaking discovery in the early 1990s changed our understanding of dinosaur integument forever. Fossils of small theropods like Sinosauropteryx, unearthed in China's Liaoning province, preserved impressions of filament-like structures. These primitive feathers, or proto-feathers, indicated that feathers likely evolved long before birds, initially for insulation or display rather than flight. The reddish-brown coloring inferred from preserved pigments in Sinosauropteryx's feathers offers a tantalizing glimpse into how some dinosaurs may have looked in life. Further evidence revealed that feathers were not exclusive to theropods. Fossils of herbivorous dinosaurs like Coelindrodromeus showed that even early ornithischians possessed feather-like structures. These findings suggest that feathers might have been a common ancestral trait among dinosaurs, though their expression varied widely depending on ecological needs and evolutionary pressures. For instance, larger species like Tyrannosaurus rex likely had a mix of scales and sparse feathering, with feathers serving specific roles, such as insulating juveniles or aiding in display. Diversity in skin coverings wasn't limited to feathers and scales. Some dinosaurs developed elaborate structures that enhanced their survival in unique ways. The armored plating of ankylosaurs, for example, extended beyond their scales to include bony osteoderms embedded in their skin. These plates, often adorned with spikes or clubbed tails, provided unparalleled protection against predators like large theropods. Meanwhile, ceratopsians like Triceratops had frills and horns that were likely covered in keratin, the same material as modern-day bird beaks, adding another layer of complexity to their integument. The role of coloration in dinosaur skin and feathers has been a hot topic in paleontology. Advanced techniques such as scanning electron microscopy have allowed scientists to detect melanosomes, pigment-containing organelles in fossilized feathers. These findings reveal that some dinosaurs exhibited vibrant colors and patterns. The striking iridescence of Microraptor feathers, for example, suggests that color played a significant role in display, communication, and camouflage. Even scaly dinosaurs may have had colorful patterns or markings, akin to modern reptiles. The environmental and social pressures driving these diverse integumentary adaptations were as varied as the dinosaurs themselves. Feathers likely evolved for insulation in smaller dinosaurs that lived in colder climates or at higher altitudes, while display features such as crests, plumes, and bright colors became crucial for attracting mates or intimidating rivals. Scales, in contrast, persisted as a robust and practical solution for many larger dinosaurs that relied on their size and armor for protection, rather than agility or stealth. Fossils preserving dinosaur skin, feathers, and scales offer a glimpse into how these creatures thrived in an ever-changing world. From the armored giants of the Jurassic to the feathered and colorful theropods of the Cretaceous, their integument reveals a fascinating interplay of evolution, ecology, and behavior. These details remind us that dinosaurs were far more than uniform prehistoric reptiles. They were dynamic, adaptive, and vibrant creatures that helped shape the natural world as we know it. Early dinosaur social structures, herding and parental care in primitive forms. Fossil evidence reveals that even the earliest dinosaurs were not solitary hunters or foragers. Many primitive forms displayed behaviors indicating social structures, such as herding and parental care. These social behaviors likely played a crucial role in their survival, particularly in environments filled with predators and shifting ecological challenges. Traces of these behaviors are found in fossilized nests, trackways, and bone beds, painting a vivid picture of how early dinosaurs may have interacted. Herding behavior is one of the earliest indicators of social structures in dinosaurs. Evidence from trackways, fossilized footprints preserved in sediment, reveals that some early herbivorous dinosaurs moved in groups. For instance, fossils of Massospondylus, a basal sauropodomorph, show individuals of varying sizes traveling together. This suggests that herding might have provided safety in numbers, as predators were less likely to single out individuals in larger groups. Herding also allowed these animals to exploit food resources collectively, particularly in regions where vegetation was patchy or seasonal. Fossilized bone beds, where remains of multiple individuals are preserved together, further support the idea of herding. Sites such as those containing the early Ornithischian Lesothosaurus suggest that these dinosaurs lived and possibly died in groups, perhaps during droughts or flash floods. The presence of both juveniles and adults in these bone beds indicates that herding might have been a lifelong behavior rather than a trait limited to certain life stages. This mirrors modern animals like elephants and wildebeests, which rely on herds for protection and social bonding. Parental care, a behavior often associated with birds and mammals, also appears to have roots in early dinosaurs. Fossilized nests of Massospondylus provide compelling evidence. These nests contain neatly arranged eggs, suggesting that the parents deliberately chose nesting sites and organized their eggs for safety and incubation. The discovery of tiny footprints near nests, unaccompanied by adult tracks, implies that hatchlings stayed near their nesting grounds after hatching. This suggests a degree of parental oversight, perhaps to guard against predators or to provide guidance as the juveniles learn to forage. The structure of dinosaur eggs and embryos adds further evidence to the argument for parental care. Eggs of primitive dinosaurs often had relatively thin shells compared to modern reptiles, indicating that they might have required protection from environmental factors such as desiccation or temperature fluctuations. This vulnerability would have necessitated some level of attentiveness from the parents, whether by guarding the nest or covering the eggs with vegetation to regulate temperature. In addition to nests, skeletal remains of hatchlings and juveniles found near adults suggest that some species cared for their young after they hatched. For example, remains of the early sauropodomorph Lufengosaurus show hatchlings in close association with adults, possibly indicating that these dinosaurs lived in family groups. This form of extended parental care would have increased the survival chances of offspring in a world filled with predators and other environmental challenges. Social structures may have also extended beyond immediate family groups. Some early dinosaurs exhibited behaviors that indicate cooperative interactions, such as group foraging or even mutual defense. For smaller dinosaurs like Calophysis, clustering behaviors may have allowed them to ambush prey or evade larger predators. Cooperative strategies like these likely gave these animals an evolutionary edge, enabling them to adapt to their environments more effectively. The evolution of herding and parental care in early dinosaurs set the stage for the more complex social behaviors observed in later species. These behaviors not only improved their chances of survival, but also laid the groundwork for the intricate ecological roles dinosaurs would come to play as they diversified and spread across prehistoric Earth. Far from being primitive creatures, early dinosaurs exhibited remarkable adaptability and social intelligence, traits that would help them dominate ecosystems for millions of years. The role of insects in early ecosystems, how they influenced dinosaur evolution. Insects were among the first animals to conquer land, shaping ecosystems long before the first dinosaurs emerged. By the time dinosaurs evolved during the Triassic period, insects had already established themselves as integral players in Earth's ecosystems. Their influence extended far beyond their own survival. Insects shaped vegetation, predator-prey dynamics, and even the evolution of certain dinosaur traits. Insects were critical in driving the spread and diversity of plant life, particularly during the late Carboniferous and Permian periods. As pollinators, early insects like beetles and primitive flies facilitated the reproduction of seed plants, paving the way for lush forests and diverse flora. By the Triassic, this vegetation had become the primary food source for herbivorous dinosaurs. Insects not only supported the growth of these plant communities, but also acted as agents of natural selection, encouraging the evolution of traits in plants that would ultimately impact herbivorous dinosaurs. For example, the development of spines, toxins, and thick bark in plants was often a direct response to insect herbivory, making plants more challenging for dinosaurs to consume and forcing them to adapt their feeding strategies. Insect activity also contributed to the decomposition and nutrient cycling within ecosystems, enriching the soils that supported vast forests. Termites and beetles broke down plant material, creating fertile ground for new vegetation. This process was crucial in maintaining the ecosystems that herbivorous dinosaurs depended on. Without the recycling capabilities of insects, the expansive habitats of the Mesozoic might have been less capable of sustaining such large populations of plant-eating dinosaurs. Predator-prey dynamics involving insects created ripple effects throughout the food chain, influencing the evolution of early dinosaurs. Small theropods, the ancestors of later iconic predators like Tyrannosaurus rex, likely included insects in their diets. Evidence from fossilized stomach contents and coprolites suggests that smaller dinosaurs regularly consumed insects, particularly in their juvenile stages. Hunting agile insects may have honed the quick reflexes and sharp senses that later made theropods such efficient hunters of larger prey. Conversely, some dinosaurs evolved features to avoid insect-related challenges. Large herbivorous dinosaurs, such as sauropodomorphs, likely had to contend with swarms of blood-feeding insects and parasitic species. Thick skin, scales, and even group behaviors like herding may have been evolutionary responses to minimize the impact of biting insects. Fossil evidence, including preserved skin impressions, suggests that these adaptations helped protect dinosaurs from the relentless assault of Triassic and Jurassic insects. Another fascinating connection lies in the role of insects as vectors of disease. Early insects were capable of spreading pathogens among vertebrates, potentially shaping population dynamics and influencing evolutionary pressures. Parasites carried by insects might have driven dinosaurs to evolve immune responses or behaviors to minimize contact, such as migration or nesting in areas less infested by insects. Insects also left their mark on dinosaur nesting and reproductive behaviors. Fossilized nests often show evidence of insect activity, such as burrows and damage to eggshells. This suggests that dinosaurs had to contend with egg predators like beetles and early ants. Protective nesting strategies, such as covering eggs with vegetation or nesting in colonies, may have evolved as direct responses to insect threats. Insects didn't just interact with dinosaurs indirectly through ecosystems or predation. They were an active part of the evolutionary arms race that defined the Mesozoic era. Their influence on vegetation, nutrient cycling, and the diets of smaller dinosaurs highlights the interconnectedness of life during this time. Without the foundational role of insects, the ecosystems that supported the rise and dominance of dinosaurs might never have reached their full potential. The impact of early volcanoes, how eruptions shaped early dinosaur habitats. Volcanic activity during the Triassic and early Jurassic periods was one of the most transformative forces shaping the landscapes and ecosystems that early dinosaurs called home. Massive eruptions not only reshaped the land but also influenced climate, vegetation, and even the evolutionary pathways of the animals that lived during these volatile times. Early in the Triassic, volcanic activity was frequent and often catastrophic, driven by the shifting tectonic plates and the formation of rift zones. These eruptions released vast quantities of molten lava, covering large swaths of land and obliterating ecosystems in their paths. The freshly cooled lava created new surfaces that eventually broke down into fertile soils, sparking the regrowth of vegetation. This constant cycle of destruction and renewal meant that early dinosaur habitats were dynamic and ever-changing, forcing organisms to adapt rapidly or perish. One of the most significant effects of volcanic eruptions was the release of gases such as carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. These emissions could trigger short-term cooling or warming events depending on their concentration. For early dinosaurs, these abrupt climate shifts presented challenges that likely influenced their evolutionary traits. Herbivorous species, for instance, had to adapt to varying types of vegetation as plant life adjusted to fluctuating temperatures and rainfall patterns. Carnivorous dinosaurs, in turn, had to remain flexible in their hunting strategies as prey availability shifted with environmental conditions. Volcanoes also contributed to the fragmentation of habitats. Rivers of lava and newly formed mountain ranges disrupted existing ecosystems, creating isolated pockets of flora and fauna. These isolated environments promoted diversification as species adapted to their unique surroundings. Early dinosaurs, still small and relatively unspecialized, likely thrived in these fragmented habitats by exploiting a wide range of niches. Over time, this flexibility may have given rise to the varied forms and behaviors seen in later dinosaur lineages. Another profound impact of volcanic activity was its role in shaping the planet's atmosphere. Eruptions enriched the air with essential gases, such as carbon dioxide, which supported the photosynthesis of plants. Dense vegetation took root in the aftermath of eruptions, creating lush environments where dinosaurs could thrive. However, volcanic gases also contributed to greenhouse effects, intensifying heat and altering weather patterns. Early dinosaurs had to contend with these extremes, honing adaptations like efficient thermoregulation and behavioral strategies to survive. Volcanic activity also played a direct role in the extinction and emergence of species. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction event, marked by intense volcanic activity from the Central Atlantic Magmatic Province, CAMP, wiped out a significant portion of Earth's species. This dramatic reduction in biodiversity cleared the way for dinosaurs to rise as dominant terrestrial animals. Without these eruptions, competitors like certain mammal-like reptiles might have continued to dominate, potentially stalling the evolutionary ascent of dinosaurs. Lava flows and volcanic ash deposits also influenced where dinosaurs lived. In areas where volcanic activity had subsided, nutrient-rich soils supported dense forests and expansive grasslands. These fertile lands became prime habitats for herbivorous dinosaurs, which in turn supported a growing population of carnivores. Fossil evidence from areas like the Chinle Formation in North America demonstrates that volcanic activity helped shape some of the richest dinosaur ecosystems. Moreover, volcanic eruptions shaped not only the physical environment, but also the behavior of dinosaurs. Early dinosaurs likely developed migratory behaviors to avoid regions affected by prolonged eruptions. Fossilized trackways suggest seasonal movements of herbivorous dinosaurs, possibly driven by the need to find fresh vegetation after eruptions devastated local plant life. Carnivorous species may have followed these herds, capitalizing on the shifting distribution of prey. Finally, volcanic activity influenced the mineral composition of the environment, leaving behind deposits that fossilized the remains of early dinosaurs. Ash layers from ancient eruptions serve as critical timestamps for paleontologists, helping to date fossils and reconstruct the prehistoric world. In a world shaped by fire and ash, early dinosaurs demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. These volatile conditions were both a challenge and an opportunity, laying the foundation for the evolutionary success of dinosaurs for millions of years to come. The rise of the carnivores. How early predators adapted to hunt. As the first predators emerged in prehistoric ecosystems, they faced a world filled with opportunity and challenges. These early carnivores, both reptilian and mammalian ancestors, crafted survival strategies that would set the stage for some of the most fearsome hunters in Earth's history, including the theropod dinosaurs. To succeed as predators, they developed innovations in their anatomy, behavior, and ecological roles. The evolution of sharp teeth was one of the earliest hallmarks of carnivorous adaptation. Many early predators, such as Dimetrodon, displayed blade-like teeth designed for slicing through flesh. These teeth often had serrated edges, a feature that helped deliver devastating wounds and tear apart prey with efficiency. The ability to process meat quickly and consume high-calorie diets allowed these animals to fuel their energy-demanding lifestyles, giving them an edge in their ecosystems. Agility was another critical trait in early carnivores. While herbivorous animals adapted to feed on tough plant material and grow larger to deter predators, carnivores had to counteract these defenses. Early species developed muscular limbs and elongated bodies, enabling swift and sudden movements. Fossil evidence of trackways suggests that some Triassic carnivores, such as Cheilophysis, could sprint after prey, using speed to close the gap before delivering a killing blow. This emphasis on mobility also helped predators evade larger threats and maintain dominance over smaller competitors. Vision and sensory adaptations were equally pivotal. Predators relied on sharp eyesight to track prey from a distance, with some species developing forward-facing eyes for stereoscopic vision and enhanced depth perception. This gave them the ability to judge distances accurately during hunts. Alongside vision, acute hearing and olfactory senses helped predators locate prey hidden in dense vegetation or underground burrows. Over time, these sensory tools would become more refined, setting a standard for predator-prey dynamics. Hunting in packs began as a significant behavioral evolution during this era. Fossilized evidence suggests that some early predators cooperated to take down larger herbivores that would have been impossible to kill alone. Pack behavior not only increased hunting success, but also allowed carnivores to defend their kills from scavengers or rival predators. This cooperation likely relied on primitive forms of communication, whether through vocalizations, body language, or scent marking. The rise of carnivores also led to an arms race between predator and prey. As herbivorous animals developed armor-like scales, spines, and thick hides, carnivores responded with stronger jaws and greater force in their bites. For example, the early archosaurs, the ancestors of both crocodilians and theropod dinosaurs, showed adaptations like heavily muscled skulls and necks for holding onto struggling prey. This evolutionary tug-of-war ensured that predatory species continued to evolve sharper tools and tactics to stay ahead. Another key adaptation was the shift toward a more specialized diet. Some early predators were generalists, feeding opportunistically on anything they could overpower. Over time, however, carnivores began targeting specific types of prey, from small mammals and reptiles to larger herbivores. This dietary specialization led to divergence among predator species, allowing multiple types of carnivores to coexist within the same ecosystems. This separation of niches reduced direct competition, giving rise to more complex food webs. As climates fluctuated and habitats changed, predators showed remarkable flexibility. They could migrate to areas with abundant prey or switch to scavenging when live prey became scarce. Fossil evidence from mass extinction events indicates that carnivores were often among the survivors, using their resourcefulness and dietary adaptability to outlast species less equipped to handle environmental upheaval. Even reproduction strategies played a role in the success of early predators. Many laid eggs, a strategy that allowed them to produce numerous offspring in hopes that a few would survive. Fossils of nests and juvenile remains suggest that some carnivores, particularly later theropods, may have exhibited parental care, protecting and feeding their young until they could hunt independently. This strategy increased juvenile survival rates and ensured the continuity of successful hunting traits. The legacy of these early adaptations is evident in the lineage of carnivores that followed. The tools and strategies honed by these primitive predators would eventually be perfected by apex hunters like Tyrannosaurus rex. But it all began with these early carnivores, whose evolutionary triumphs laid the groundwork for the dominance of meat-eaters in terrestrial ecosystems for millions of years. Their ingenuity in adapting to hunt reshaped the balance of life on Earth, carving a path that would forever intertwine predator and prey in an eternal struggle. The first dinosaur herds, evidence of group behavior in herbivorous species. Fossilized footprints and bone beds scattered across the globe provide a fascinating glimpse into the lives of early herbivorous dinosaurs. These discoveries reveal compelling evidence that many species lived in herds, a behavior that offered a range of survival benefits. Group behavior in herbivorous dinosaurs was not just a matter of safety in numbers, it was also key to their ecological dominance and evolutionary success. One of the most striking pieces of evidence for herding comes from fossilized trackways. Sites like those in the Morrison Formation of North America preserve parallel tracks of multiple individuals moving in the same direction. These trackways, left by species like Camarasaurus and Diplodocus, suggest coordinated movement across vast landscapes. The spacing and depth of the tracks indicate that dinosaurs of different sizes, adults and juveniles, traveled together, hinting at a social structure where younger members were protected within the group. Bone beds offer further evidence of herding behavior. Sites like the Cleveland Lloyd Dinosaur Quarry in Utah contain the remains of dozens of individuals from the same species, such as the herbivorous Camptosaurus. The clustering of bones suggests that these dinosaurs lived and died together, possibly as a result of environmental catastrophes like droughts or floods. Such events may have trapped entire herds, preserving them for millions of years and providing modern paleontologists with invaluable insights into their group dynamics. Herding behavior likely evolved as a defense mechanism against predators. Early herbivorous dinosaurs faced constant threats from theropods like Chelophysis and later Allosaurus. Living in groups allowed individuals to benefit from collective vigilance, more eyes watching for danger. When threatened, the larger members of the herd could form a protective barrier around the juveniles, creating a strategy still observed in modern herd animals like elephants and bison. Communication played a crucial role in maintaining these herds. While we can't know exactly how these dinosaurs communicated, fossil evidence suggests some intriguing possibilities. Crests and frills on species like Parasaurolophus may have been used for visual signaling or to produce low-frequency sounds that carried over long distances. These signals could help herds stay cohesive during migrations or warn of approaching danger. Migration itself appears to have been a significant aspect of herding behavior. Some trackways span hundreds of miles, suggesting seasonal migrations in search of food and water. The diets of herbivorous dinosaurs required vast amounts of vegetation, and as seasons changed, herds would have been forced to travel to find new feeding grounds. These migrations not only sustained the dinosaurs but also shaped the ecosystems they moved through, as their grazing habits influenced plant growth and soil composition. Parental care within herds is another intriguing aspect of early dinosaur social structures. Fossilized nests and eggs, such as those found in Mongolia's Flaming Cliffs, reveal that some herbivorous dinosaurs like Protoceratops nested in colonies. These colonies likely provided a degree of protection for eggs and hatchlings, with adults possibly sharing responsibilities like guarding nests and guiding young to food sources. This communal approach to raising offspring would have increased the survival rates of juveniles, ensuring the continuation of the species. The benefits of herding extended beyond protection and reproduction. Living in groups allowed herbivorous dinosaurs to exploit resources more efficiently. By moving together, they could clear vast swaths of vegetation, minimizing competition within the herd while maximizing their impact on the environment. This behavior helped shape prehistoric landscapes, as herds influenced the distribution of plant species and even aided in seed dispersal. As herding behavior became more complex, it likely fostered the development of social bonds and hierarchies within groups. Dominant individuals may have led migrations or defended the herd against predators, while subordinate members followed established social rules. These dynamics would have laid the groundwork for more advanced social behaviors in later dinosaur species. The first dinosaur herds marked a significant evolutionary step, showcasing the power of cooperation in the face of adversity. Their group behavior not only allowed them to thrive in a world filled with challenges, but also set the stage for the incredible diversity and dominance of herbivorous dinosaurs throughout the Mesozoic era. The evolution of speed and agility. Why mobility mattered for survival. The ability to move quickly and with precision was a critical evolutionary advantage for many prehistoric species, especially as ecosystems became more complex and predators and prey engaged in an arms race of adaptations. Speed and agility were not just tools for escape or pursuit, they were survival strategies that shaped anatomy, behavior, and the balance of power in ancient ecosystems. Early theropods like Coelophysis demonstrate how speed evolved as a response to predatory pressures. With long, slender legs, lightweight frames, and a bipedal stance, these dinosaurs were built for running. Their limb proportions with elongated lower leg bones optimized their stride length and efficiency, allowing them to cover ground rapidly. For a predator like Calophysis, the ability to swiftly close the distance between itself and its prey was essential, especially when hunting smaller, agile creatures that relied on quick bursts of speed to evade capture. For herbivorous dinosaurs, agility and speed often meant the difference between life and death. Early examples like ornithischians were often smaller and more vulnerable to predation. Their evolution favored adaptations like muscular hind limbs and a flexible tail that acted as a counterbalance, enabling rapid directional changes during pursuit. Fossilized footprints in some regions suggest chaotic, zigzagging movements, likely evidence of prey animals trying to outmaneuver pursuing predators. Beyond predators and prey, mobility played a role in accessing resources. Many species needed to migrate long distances to follow seasonal food supplies or escape harsh conditions. This required not only stamina, but the ability to navigate challenging terrains such as forests, floodplains, and deserts. Dinosaurs like Iguanodon demonstrate an evolutionary trade-off between power and endurance. Their strong legs allowed them to travel long distances in herds, while maintaining the capability for short bursts of speed when threatened. The anatomical features that supported speed and agility often came with trade-offs. Lightweight skeletons, for example, enhanced mobility but left animals more vulnerable to injury or predation. Similarly, elongated limbs increased running efficiency but reduced raw strength, requiring species to adopt specialized behaviors to compensate. In many predators, such as Velociraptor, agility was enhanced by the development of a rigid tail which acted like a stabilizing rudder during high-speed chases or sharp turns. This allowed them to maintain balance while pursuing prey across uneven terrain. In aquatic environments, speed and agility were equally vital. Prehistoric marine reptiles like ichthyosaurs evolved streamlined hydrodynamic bodies and powerful tail flukes, enabling them to rapidly dart after prey or evade larger predators like mosasaurs. Their agility in water mirrored the challenges faced on land, demonstrating the universal importance of mobility in ecosystems dominated by the relentless dynamics of predator-prey interactions. Speed also became a factor in courtship and territorial disputes. In many species, males likely competed for mates or dominance within a group, and the ability to demonstrate superior mobility could have been a deciding factor. Features such as crests or feathers may have evolved not just as display mechanisms, but also as aerodynamic aids, enhancing agility during these intense competitions. Interestingly, the fossil record reveals that mobility was not solely about speed. Agility, the ability to maneuver quickly and accurately, was just as critical. This is evident in dinosaurs like Troodon, which combined moderate speed with exceptional coordination. Its relatively large brain suggests that advanced motor control played a role in its survival strategy, enabling it to outthink and outmaneuver its prey and predators alike. The rise of flowering plants in the Cretaceous period introduced new challenges and opportunities for herbivorous dinosaurs. Many of these plants grew in dense clusters, requiring smaller, more agile herbivores to weave through tight spaces to feed. This shift in vegetation likely further influenced the evolution of smaller, faster species, creating a cascade of adaptations across ecosystems. Mobility became not just a survival tool, but a defining aspect of evolutionary success. Whether it was the swift pursuit of prey, the desperate dash to escape a predator, or the long migrations in search of food, the evolution of speed and agility underpinned the dynamic and competitive ecosystems of prehistoric Earth. This relentless push for mobility ensured that both predators and prey continually adapted, crafting the vibrant and diverse web of life that characterized the age of dinosaurs. The fossil clues of dinosaur ancestors. What bones reveal about their origins? Fossilized bones are windows into the past, offering glimpses of the creatures that walked the Earth long before the rise of the iconic dinosaurs. These remnants provide critical clues about how dinosaur ancestors evolved and adapted, laying the foundation for the creatures that would later dominate the Mesozoic world. From subtle skeletal traits to striking innovations, the fossil record helps us trace the evolutionary journey of these ancient reptiles. One of the most revealing aspects of dinosaur ancestors lies in their hips and limbs. Early archosaurs, the ancestors of both crocodilians and dinosaurs, show a transitional shift in their pelvic structure. Fossils like those of Marasuchus and Lagosuchus reveal elongation in the hind limbs, suggesting an adaptation for more efficient locomotion. This was a significant departure from the sprawling gait of earlier reptiles, where legs extended outwards from the body. Instead, these early forms began bringing their legs underneath their bodies, a shift that would later allow dinosaurs to move with greater speed and endurance. The ankle bones of early dinosaur relatives also hint at their evolutionary trajectory. Fossils show that these creatures had a more simplified and stabilized ankle joint compared to other reptiles. This adaptation not only supported upright locomotion but also enhanced their ability to run and maneuver, giving them an edge in the competitive environments of the Triassic period. Skull features offer additional insights into the origins of dinosaurs. Early archosaurs exhibit elongated skulls with sharp, serrated teeth, adaptations suited for their predatory lifestyle. Fossils of Herrerasaurus, one of the earliest known dinosaurs, show a mix of ancestral traits and early dinosaur characteristics. Its jawbone displays a hinge that allowed for a more powerful bite, a feature that would later become a hallmark of theropods. Meanwhile, the presence of small holes or fenestrae in the skull reduced weight, while maintaining structural strength, enabling faster movement and greater agility. The vertebrae and tail bones of early dinosaur relatives reveal an increasing specialization for balance and support. Long, muscular tails acted as counterbalances, particularly in bipedal species. Fossils of Eoraptor, another early dinosaur, show a lightweight, flexible tail that would have helped stabilize the body during rapid movements. This trait likely contributed to their ability to evade predators or pursue prey, setting the stage for the later dominance of theropods and other agile dinosaur groups. Fossilized hands and claws provide further details about their evolutionary journey. Many early dinosaur ancestors retained 5 fingers, but with clear signs of adaptation. For instance, fossils of Coelophysis and similar species show a reduction in the number of functional fingers, with the remaining digits becoming more robust and specialized. This foreshadows the powerful grasping hands of later theropods, which would use their claws for hunting and defense. Bone microstructure offers a glimpse into their growth and metabolism. Thin slices of fossilized bones reveal a pattern of rapid growth, with fewer pauses than what is typically seen in cold-blooded reptiles. This suggests that even some of the earliest dinosaur ancestors had a higher metabolic rate, hinting at the eventual evolution of warm-bloodedness in certain dinosaur lineages. This physiological shift was likely crucial for their survival in the dynamic and competitive ecosystems of the Triassic period. Finally, the fossil record captures transitional forms that blur the line between dinosaur ancestors and their contemporaries. Discoveries like Silosaurus show a creature that shares traits with both archosaurs and true dinosaurs, such as elongated limbs and a partially upright posture. These fossils emphasize that evolution is not a linear process, but rather a complex web of adaptations and innovations, with traits appearing and disappearing across generations. The bones of dinosaur ancestors not only reveal how these creatures lived, but also highlight the gradual accumulation of traits that would later define the dinosaurs. Each fossil discovery adds a piece to the puzzle, helping paleontologists reconstruct the story of how these remarkable animals came to dominate the Earth, setting the stage for the prehistoric world we've come to know. Early airborne reptiles, how pterosaurs paved the way for avian evolution. The skies of the Mesozoic era were dominated by pterosaurs, remarkable reptiles that achieved powered flight long before the first bird ever flapped its wings. These creatures were the first vertebrates to conquer the skies, and their adaptations not only reveal the innovative nature of evolution, but also set the stage for the eventual rise of avian flight. Pterosaurs emerged during the late Triassic period, evolving from a group of archosaurs closely related to the ancestors of dinosaurs. Their most defining feature was their wing structure, which was unlike anything seen in modern birds or bats. Pterosaur wings were supported by an elongated fourth finger that extended to form a frame for a membrane of skin, muscle, and other tissues. This lightweight yet durable wing design allowed them to achieve a level of maneuverability and efficiency that would later inspire the evolution of flight in other lineages. Fossils of early pterosaurs like Eudimorphodon reveal adaptations for gliding, with relatively short wings suited for brief, controlled flights. Over millions of years, these reptiles evolved more advanced flight capabilities. By the Jurassic, pterosaurs like Pterodactylus had elongated wings and hollow bones that reduced body weight while maintaining structural integrity. These adaptations enabled sustained-powered flight, allowing them to exploit new ecological niches from coastal cliffs to dense forests. The cranial features of pterosaurs also played a key role in their success. Their elongated skulls, often adorned with crests, housed lightweight jaws filled with specialized teeth. Some species, like Rhamphorhynchus, had needle-like teeth designed for snaring fish, while others, such as Pterodaustro, developed filter-feeding adaptations similar to modern flamingos. These dietary specializations allowed pterosaurs to thrive in diverse environments, paving the way for future aerial foragers like birds. The presence of pycnofibers, hair-like filaments covering their bodies, provides further clues about their evolutionary legacy. These structures likely helped pterosaurs regulate their body temperature, suggesting a high metabolic rate, a trait shared with modern birds. This thermoregulation would have been critical for sustaining the energy demands of flight, especially in colder climates or during long migrations. The fossil record also reveals a fascinating evolutionary progression in pterosaur behavior and social structure. Evidence of nesting colonies suggests that some species engaged in communal nesting, protecting their young and potentially coordinating group behavior. This parallels the nesting habits of many modern birds, hinting at the early origins of complex social dynamics in flying vertebrates. Despite their eventual extinction at the end of the Cretaceous, pterosaurs left an indelible mark on the evolutionary history of flight. Their anatomical innovations, hollow bones, aerodynamic bodies, and advanced respiratory systems, were echoed in the theropod dinosaurs that would later give rise to birds. The discovery of fossils like Archaeopteryx, which bridges the gap between non-avian dinosaurs and early birds, highlights how traits originally refined in terrestrial and arboreal settings found new applications in the skies. The parallels between pterosaurs and early birds extend beyond their physical adaptations. Both groups demonstrated remarkable evolutionary plasticity, experimenting with various wing shapes, feeding strategies, and ecological roles. This shared legacy underscores the importance of the Mesozoic skies as a crucible of innovation, where the challenges of flight drove the evolution of some of the most iconic creatures in Earth's history. By studying pterosaurs, scientists can better understand the constraints and opportunities that shaped the evolution of flight. These ancient reptiles not only pioneered the skies, but also laid the groundwork for the emergence of avian species, illustrating the intricate interplay of adaptation, innovation, and survival in the history of life on Earth. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction event: how dinosaurs outlasted competitors. The Triassic-Jurassic extinction event was a pivotal moment in Earth's history, reshaping ecosystems and setting the stage for the age of dinosaurs. This mass extinction, occurring approximately 201 million years ago, wiped out nearly 75% of species, including many of the dominant competitors of early dinosaurs. The reasons behind the dinosaurs' survival and eventual dominance can be traced to their unique adaptations and the dramatic environmental upheavals of the time. During the late Triassic period, the world was a volatile place. Massive volcanic eruptions associated with the Central Atlantic magmatic province released vast amounts of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. These eruptions triggered a cascade of climate shifts, including rapid global warming, ocean acidification, and widespread anoxia, where oxygen levels in marine environments plummeted. Such conditions devastated many terrestrial and marine organisms that were unable to adapt to these rapid changes. Dinosaurs, which were relatively small and diverse at the time, were not yet the dominant force in terrestrial ecosystems. They shared their habitats with large amphibians, mammal-like reptiles, and other archosaurian lineages such as phytosaurs and atasaurs. However, dinosaurs possessed several key advantages that allowed them to outlast their competitors when the extinction event struck. One of the most significant traits contributing to their survival was their efficient respiratory system. Fossil evidence suggests that many early dinosaurs had a bird-like lung structure with air sacs, allowing them to extract oxygen more effectively than their contemporaries. This adaptation would have been critical during the hypoxic conditions following the volcanic activity, giving dinosaurs a metabolic edge in oxygen-depleted environments. Additionally, dinosaurs exhibited upright, bipedal or semi-bipedal stances that set them apart from many other reptiles. This posture allowed for greater mobility, speed, and endurance, enabling them to traverse the changing landscapes more effectively than sprawling competitors. Their limb structure also gave them an advantage in foraging for food, escaping predators, or moving to more hospitable regions as ecosystems were disrupted. The diverse dietary strategies among early dinosaurs further enhanced their resilience. While some species were specialized herbivores, capable of digesting tough, fibrous plants, others were opportunistic carnivores or omnivores, able to exploit a wide range of food sources. This versatility would have been invaluable in a world where food webs were collapsing and reliable resources were scarce. As other dominant species were decimated by the extinction event, the ecological niches they left behind became available for the dinosaurs to fill. The extinction of large amphibians and other archosaurs, such as the crocodile-like phytosaurs, removed major competitors from the landscape. This allowed dinosaurs to expand into new habitats and diversify into forms better suited to exploit the changing environment. The survivors of the Triassic-Jurassic extinction event were not necessarily the largest or the strongest, but the most adaptable. Dinosaurs demonstrated an exceptional ability to evolve rapidly in response to environmental pressures, an evolutionary flexibility that would define their dominance throughout the Mesozoic era. By the early Jurassic, they had diversified into an array of forms, from the towering sauropods to the fearsome theropods, establishing themselves as the unchallenged rulers of the land. This extinction event serves as a reminder of how life on Earth is shaped not only by competition, but by the ability to withstand and adapt to sudden, catastrophic change. The dinosaurs' ascent was not a matter of sheer power, but a testament to the importance of resilience, innovation, and timing in evolutionary success. The evolution of teeth and diet. Adaptations for carnivory and herbivory. The evolution of teeth was a critical turning point in the history of life, enabling early vertebrates to specialize in distinct dietary strategies such as carnivory and herbivory. These adaptations not only shaped individual species, but also drove the development of complex ecosystems. Teeth became weapons, tools, and survival mechanisms, reflecting the dietary demands and ecological niches of their bearers. For carnivores, teeth evolved into sharp, slicing tools perfectly suited for hunting and processing flesh. Early theropods, the ancestors of some of the most iconic carnivorous dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex, displayed teeth that were serrated like steak knives. These serrations allowed for efficient cutting through muscle and sinew, maximizing the amount of energy extracted from prey. Theropod teeth were often recurved, designed to grip and hold struggling prey, preventing it from escaping. Fossilized bite marks and the wear patterns on teeth provide direct evidence of how these predators killed and consumed their prey. In contrast, herbivorous dinosaurs adapted their teeth to handle tough plant material. This shift required a different set of evolutionary innovations. Sauropods, the giant long-necked dinosaurs, possessed peg-like teeth that were optimal for stripping leaves from branches rather than chewing. This gulp-and-go approach was paired with their reliance on gastroliths, stones swallowed to help grind plant matter in the stomach. Other herbivores, such as hadrosaurs and ceratopsians, evolved more complex dental structures. These species developed dental batteries, hundreds of tightly packed teeth that formed grinding surfaces. These teeth were ideal for processing fibrous plants, allowing herbivores to extract maximum nutrients from low-calorie food sources. The dichotomy between carnivorous and herbivorous teeth is not just about shape, but also about function and regeneration. Carnivorous dinosaurs typically had teeth that were continually replaced throughout their lives, ensuring they always had sharp, functional tools. This was essential for predators, as their teeth were frequently damaged or lost during feeding. Herbivores, particularly those with dental batteries, had similar systems to maintain their grinding surfaces, which experienced heavy wear from processing abrasive plant material. Dietary adaptations also extended beyond teeth to include jaw mechanics and skull structure. Carnivores like Allosaurus had powerful jaw muscles capable of delivering crushing bites. Some even displayed adaptations for precision, with flexible joints in the skull allowing them to manipulate prey. On the herbivorous side, ankylosaurs and hadrosaurs developed wide, flat jaws designed for shearing plants, while ceratopsians had beak-like structures that functioned much like modern parrot beaks for cutting through vegetation. Teeth also played a role in social behaviors and signaling. In some theropods, large prominent teeth were likely used to intimidate rivals or attract mates, much like the tusks of modern animals. Similarly, some herbivores may have used their robust jaws and dental features in displays of dominance or defense. The fossil record offers remarkable insight into these adaptations, from the finely serrated teeth of a dromaeosaur to the grinding surfaces of a hadrosaur's dental battery. Each tooth is a snapshot of an evolutionary path, revealing the strategies that allowed dinosaurs to thrive in a competitive world. The interplay between carnivory and herbivory was a driving force in prehistoric ecosystems. As herbivores developed more efficient ways to consume plants, carnivores adapted to exploit the herbivores. This arms race fueled the rise of diversity and specialization, creating the dynamic ecosystems that defined the age of dinosaurs. Teeth were at the heart of this evolutionary drama, enabling dinosaurs to carve out their places in a changing world. Dinosaur tracks and trace fossils, insights into their behavior and movement. Dinosaur tracks and trace fossils are some of the most fascinating windows into the lives of creatures that vanished millions of years ago. Unlike bones, which provide a snapshot of anatomy, trace fossils capture moments of activity. Footprints, tail drag marks, and even fossilized skin imprints reveal how dinosaurs moved, interacted, and occupied their environments. These traces bring life to the skeletal remains, giving us glimpses of their daily lives. Footprints are among the most common and informative trace fossils. A single footprint, preserved in sediment that hardened over millennia, can tell scientists about the dinosaur's size, weight, and gait. By analyzing the depth and spacing of tracks, paleontologists can estimate how fast a dinosaur was moving. Longer strides and deeper impressions often indicate running, while shorter, shallower prints suggest walking or slower movements. In some sites, parallel sets of tracks provide evidence of herding behavior, particularly among herbivorous species. These group movements suggest complex social dynamics, where individuals stayed together for protection or resource gathering. Trace fossils also reveal how dinosaurs interacted with their environment. Some footprints include claw marks or drag lines, indicating how certain species used their limbs or tails for balance or support. Tracks left by theropods sometimes show signs of sharp turns or sudden stops, suggesting hunting or evasion. The direction and distribution of tracks at certain sites can even indicate migration routes, shedding light on how dinosaurs responded to seasonal changes or environmental pressures. In some cases, trackways, long sequences of footprints, offer insight into species interactions. For example, overlapping tracks of a predator and prey can suggest a pursuit, with the predator's larger, more deliberate prints interspersed with the smaller, erratic movements of its prey. Such patterns hint at the drama of ancient ecosystems, preserving moments of life and death that played out millions of years ago. Beyond footprints, other trace fossils add to the story. Fossilized burrows, nests, and even dung, coprolites, provide details about dinosaur behaviors that bones alone cannot. Fossilized nests, for example, reveal not only where dinosaurs laid their eggs, but also their reproductive strategies. Some sites suggest that dinosaurs returned to the same nesting grounds repeatedly, much like modern birds. In rare cases, nests contain impressions of hatchlings, indicating parental care or the time spent in nests before juveniles ventured out. Coprolites, meanwhile, serve as direct evidence of diet. Analyzing these preserved feces reveals what dinosaurs ate and how they digested food. Herbivorous dinosaurs left behind traces of chewed vegetation, while carnivorous coprolites often contain fragments of bone, showing how efficiently their powerful digestive systems processed their meals. This provides a clearer picture of the food web dynamics in prehistoric ecosystems. Trace fossils can also illustrate environmental conditions. The sediment surrounding tracks can tell us about the surface the dinosaur walked on. Was it a soft, muddy riverbank, a sandy dune, or a compacted forest floor? These details help reconstruct the habitats dinosaurs lived in and how they navigated them. For example, trackways through what were once floodplains reveal that certain species preferred open, wet environments, while others left traces in more arid, forested regions. Some of the most remarkable finds come from sites where multiple types of traces converge. One such discovery might feature tracks, tail drags, and evidence of feeding, painting a vivid picture of a particular moment in time. These traces are invaluable for piecing together behaviors and relationships within dinosaur communities, offering a dynamic view of prehistoric life that skeletons alone cannot provide. Ultimately, dinosaur tracks and trace fossils are more than just marks in stone. They are records of motion, intention, and interaction. They remind us that these creatures were not static collections of bones, but living beings, leaving imprints on the world as they roamed, hunted, and thrived. Each track and trace is a signature left behind, a brief connection between their ancient past and our present understanding. Archosaur superiority. Why this group dominated the Triassic era. The dominance of archosaurs during the Triassic era was not accidental, but the result of a suite of evolutionary adaptations that gave them an edge over their competitors. As the world recovered from the devastating Permian-Triassic extinction event, archosaurs, the group that includes the ancestors of dinosaurs, crocodilians, and birds, emerged as the dominant vertebrates in many ecosystems. Their success can be attributed to a combination of physiological, anatomical, and ecological advantages. One of the key traits that set archosaurs apart was their upright posture. Unlike sprawling reptiles, such as early amphibians or certain synapsids, archosaurs evolved a more efficient limb structure where their legs extended directly beneath their bodies. This posture allowed for greater speed and stamina, giving them a distinct advantage in both hunting and escaping predators. By conserving energy and facilitating sustained movement, this adaptation enabled archosaurs to exploit a wide range of environments, from dense forests to arid plains. In addition to their locomotor superiority, archosaurs possessed an advanced respiratory system that further supported their dominance. Evidence suggests that they developed a form of unidirectional airflow in their lungs, similar to modern birds. This efficient breathing system allowed for greater oxygen intake, which was crucial in the relatively low oxygen atmosphere of the early Triassic. This adaptation would have given archosaurs a significant advantage in endurance and recovery, enabling them to outcompete less efficient contemporaries. Archosaurs also displayed remarkable versatility in their ecological roles. Some, like early crocodilomorphs, occupied semi-aquatic niches, ambushing prey from rivers and lakes. Others, such as the early theropods, were agile terrestrial hunters. The group also included herbivorous species that exploited newly emerging plant resources. This ecological diversity allowed archosaurs to dominate various habitats and reduce direct competition within their group, enabling them to collectively outlast rival lineages. Predatory archosaurs such as Rauisuchians and early theropods were particularly formidable. Their powerful jaws and serrated teeth made them apex predators, capable of taking down large prey. Many species also evolved skull adaptations for delivering strong, precise bites. These traits ensured that archosaurs maintained their position at the top of the food chain, reshaping predator-prey dynamics in Triassic ecosystems. Archosaurs' evolutionary success was also tied to their reproductive strategies. Unlike many reptiles of the time, evidence suggests that some archosaurs developed more sophisticated nesting behaviors, including guarding their eggs and possibly even caring for their young. These behaviors increased the survival rate of offspring, ensuring that archosaur populations could recover quickly and expand into new territories. Their adaptability was tested as the climate fluctuated throughout the Triassic. Archosaurs thrived in the face of shifting environments, from arid deserts to lush floodplains. Their ability to occupy diverse ecological niches, coupled with physiological resilience, allowed them to expand globally during this period of recovery and diversification. Competition with other groups also shaped the archosaurs' dominance. Synapsids, which had been the dominant terrestrial vertebrates before the Permian extinction, struggled to reclaim their former glory. While some mammal-like reptiles persisted, their sprawling gait and less efficient physiology often left them at a disadvantage compared to the nimble and resourceful archosaurs. This allowed archosaurs to claim the ecological niches left vacant by the extinction and maintain their superiority. The evolutionary trajectory of archosaurs set the stage for the rise of dinosaurs. Many traits that ensured their success in the Triassic, upright posture, advanced respiration, and adaptive versatility, were inherited and refined by the dinosaurs, propelling them to unprecedented dominance in later periods. Archosaurs not only survived one of Earth's greatest extinction events, but turned the aftermath into an opportunity to redefine life on land, paving the way for the age of dinosaurs. The role of climate in dinosaur evolution, how ancient weather patterns shaped their rise. The dramatic shifts in Earth's climate during the Mesozoic era played a pivotal role in shaping the evolutionary journey of dinosaurs. From the arid deserts of the Triassic to the lush, humid landscapes of the Jurassic and Cretaceous, these ever-changing weather patterns created a dynamic canvas on which dinosaurs diversified, adapted, and ultimately thrived. During the late Triassic, much of the planet was dominated by hot and arid conditions. Seasonal monsoons were a critical feature of the climate, leading to periodic bursts of vegetation growth followed by dry spells. These conditions favored early dinosaurs whose physiological traits made them well-suited to survive in challenging environments. Their upright posture and efficient respiratory systems allowed them to move across vast territories in search of food and water, giving them an edge over less adaptable contemporaries. Carnivorous species like the early theropods thrived as agile predators, while small herbivores were adept at foraging during scarce periods. As the Triassic gave way to the Jurassic, Earth underwent a profound climatic transformation. Increased volcanic activity and shifting tectonic plates contributed to a warmer, more humid atmosphere. The once dry landscapes transformed into verdant floodplains, dense forests, and expansive wetlands. These conditions sparked an explosion in plant life, particularly ferns, cycads, and conifers, which provided a rich food source for herbivorous dinosaurs. Sauropods, such as the early ancestors of Brachiosaurus, capitalized on this abundance, evolving long necks to access the high foliage of towering plants. This dietary specialization allowed them to dominate the lush landscapes of the Jurassic. The Jurassic climate also promoted biodiversity among carnivorous dinosaurs. The warm, stable weather supported large prey populations, which in turn fueled the evolution of apex predators like Allosaurus. These hunters thrived in the fertile ecosystems where their keen senses and powerful limbs gave them the tools to secure their place at the top of the food chain. The interplay between climate-driven vegetation growth and predation pressure spurred a co-evolutionary arms race between herbivores and carnivores, resulting in the remarkable diversity of forms seen during this period. By the time the Cretaceous period dawned, the climate continued to shift, becoming increasingly variable. Warmer global temperatures and higher sea levels gave rise to vast inland seas and coastal plains. This created new ecological niches, allowing dinosaurs to diversify further. Flowering plants, or angiosperms, emerged and began to spread rapidly. These plants provided a new and highly nutritious food source, driving evolutionary changes in herbivorous dinosaurs. Some species developed specialized beaks and teeth for processing these new plants, while others adapted their digestive systems to extract maximum energy from their meals. Climate changes during the Cretaceous also influenced migration and distribution patterns. As polar regions experienced milder climates, dinosaurs expanded into these areas, leaving fossil evidence of their adaptability to cooler temperatures. This geographic spread likely helped some dinosaur lineages persist for millions of years, even as environments fluctuated around them. The climatic shifts of the Mesozoic did not merely set the stage for dinosaur evolution, they actively shaped their bodies, behaviors, and interactions. From the development of thermoregulatory adaptations to the refinement of locomotion for traversing vast, varied landscapes, dinosaurs continuously adapted to the demands of their environments. This ability to evolve in response to climate changes contributed to their resilience and dominance for over 150 million years. Ultimately, ancient weather patterns dictated not only the ecosystems dinosaurs inhabited, but also the opportunities and challenges that drove their evolution. Their story is one of profound adaptability as they responded to Earth's ceaseless climatic rhythms, turning each shift into an avenue for survival and success. These ancient interactions between life and climate highlight the intricate connections that continue to shape the history of life on Earth.